The Grade Cricketer is a Twitter stream. It's about playing cricket at the grade level.
Boys!
Get a few today, did you?
To be honest with you, I hate grade cricket.
I went into to play for a team called the name escaped me.
Obviously, sharing's always a big issue for young kids coming into a senior cricket team.
I think it was like a women's league.
A bit of advice for the players. That's what I want.
I refer to the great cricketer here and I'll say, this will do a little bit early.
Oh, you think there's no cricket going on? There's so much cricket going on, except for nets in Melbourne where 14 police officers turned up to a bloke just trying to have a hit. There's BBL rule changes which will invoke some nightmares for years to come. Australian women are the best team in the world. 11-5, baby. Breathe it in, soak it in, absorb yourself in the success of Australia at cricket. And also look at the England team that's coming out here for the Ashes. We speak to Ali Martin from The Guardian to talk about that, and also Tim Payne's SEN radio show. There's more runs in the Sheffield Shield or the Pura Cup or other things that it used to be called. The IPL has reached to the clinical climax, the hierarchical point of the tournament finally, and the T20 World Cup is around the corner. Graeme Swann is on the show, or is he? We haven't recorded that yet, so let's just hope so. And if he's not, if there's a 45-minute gap in the middle, that's why that happened. Still keep the gap. But Graeme Swann is on the show. Oh, before we get to hashtag AskTGC, this episode is brought to you by Budgie Smuggler. Use the code CHAMP at checkout for free custom design. Just use CHAMP at budgiesmuggler.com and watch the magic happen. My name is Ian Higgins. Sam Perry sits across from me, and in many ways, I from him. Pezzy lad, happy whatever day it is to you, sir. It's great to still be in lockdown.
Mate, couldn't be wishing you the same reciprocal views and emotions and sentiments.
Yes.
Sitting in this seat, and you, as you may or may not be, sitting in that seat.
Yeah, I'm sort of hovering.
Yeah.
Felt good to see my friends back home in Sydney just get out there, have some tap beers again.
Yeah. Are you happy for them?
Nope.
What's that emotion?
Coats. Now, Pez, new BBL, or BBL, they're going to change that. They're going to change that soon. There's going to be booby traps on the field. The BBL League are introducing some new changes. The BBL is now considering a 75-second limit for timed out batters. However, it is understood players would not be given timed out should they fail to meet the time allowed. Instead, one proposal is that the bowler will get a version of a batting free hit with the batter to stand aside and allow a free delivery at the stumps. If the bowler did not hit the stumps, the batter would be able to start their innings. Why do we need to give batsmen more nightmares? This will be keeping you up at nights. Forget about like getting your pads on in time, not being able to run, walking out to the crease without gloves or a bat or whatever your cricket dreams are. Now you've got to like watch a bowler try and hit your stumps and just like pretty much dictate your weekend.
I think they're onto a winner.
Oh, yeah?
Well, when it comes to creating rules for cricket, you've got to get to the essence of the sport.
Hang on. You mean laws.
That was a test.
John Laws.
Switched on.
Yeah. And I passed.
But you've got to get to the essence of the game, and the essence of the game is torture.
Yeah, sure.
And they've tried to create as much torture as possible on the field. Let's get into the subconscious. You know what I mean? Whoever's on the rules committee for the BBL, take a bow. As far as I'm concerned.
The essence of the game is torture. I like that.
Yeah. And, this particular law...
Yeah.
Can you call BBL regulations laws? Feels a little bit sort of cheap.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like that's come straight out of the head office at Lords.
Yeah.
MCC.
Can the KFC Big Bash League be run according to laws?
When they make laws at the MCC around the correct nomenclature for batters, etc., they're all sitting there in egg and bacon ties.
That's right.
At Lords, overlooking the spaceship there over the slope of the ground. When they make regulations for the BBL, they're sitting in a non-air conditioned room with KFC buckets on their heads. You know,
with eye holes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But this particular law, we'll call it that, it reminds me of the game we played at school, like in PE, like continuous cricket. Do you remember that?
Continuous cricket. Yeah,
you hit the ball, you have to run around a cone. If the ball's delivered back to the bowler, they can bowl at any point. So you often get batters diving.
Yeah. You got to run the square leg.
You get to run the square leg. That sort of gear.
Yeah.
But I think this could be one of the funnier things we've seen in cricket. And we've long tried to persuade people to see the BBL this way. Red versus green, having a beer.
Yeah.
You're tired.
Yeah.
You know,
Noise in the background.
Noise in the background. Bit
Boundary,
of
fireworks.
You see colours. You don't see play. You see silhouettes in
Hey,
colours.
it's a great way to stay in touch with the top 40 at the moment in terms of top 40 singles.
Yeah.
Pop music.
That's right.
Someone into 6. What's that?
I haven't listened to new music in 10
Doja
years.
Cat.
And I think there's been lots of promotion. Both host broadcasters do a lot of promotion at this point in the summer about the clarity of the pictures you're going to see. There's a lot of watch us in 4K, watch us in 8K, 1080p. What's that? Not even the best view you've got.
Yeah.
They need to work on that copy, but I want 8K vision of the batter's face as they stand next to the wicket, awaiting the outcome.
Nice.
And even better, like I want those batters mic'd up.
Oh
So
my
imagine
God.
so it sounds like okay, if you're out on the field after 75 seconds, they get this free ball, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like the batter still has to get the pads on and wait for the outcome. So that's quite a TV moment in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, the BBL is all going towards Squid Game, essentially.
Oh, everything is.
Oh, we all are, of course. So this is essentially Gogglebox. You have like some sort of GoPro, maybe on the bowler now. I mean, everyone's going to be wearing GoPros in the next 10 years on the field, all sports.
Yes.
Because we just want to feel what it's like to be a professional athlete. And then
Go further than that.
And that'll lead into VR. But
Yeah,
we
AI
haven't-
stuff.
We haven't quite got the technology just yet.
You won't have to watch others play. You'll be playing.
You'll be playing. Perfect. I'm not sure really up for it. I just like to watch.
You save a lot of money on ground rental and stuff because you can just play a game sitting in your seat. Just
Finally.
put some glasses on, some
Now-
VR goggles.
And then councils can buy up like council grounds and put some apartments on there. Everyone wins.
Develop that. And in those apartments, you get your VR goggles on. You've got a few choices of the content you want to consume. You get through the stuff you've got to do first, and then you
course.
play your cricket game.
Yeah.
Like you're learning and stuff, like about history and
I want to
stuff.
play Cricket 96.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's not-
Okay.
so
anyway.
yeah, good. That's a good law.
All right. Donkey wrote in via Patreon, Pez. There's a sentence. He said, just a quick one. Thought you'd be interested to hear. A couple lads from our club just went down for a net and had 12 to 14 cops show up and kick them out. And this is all actually leading into the Ashes. I think Joe Rett was just trying to have a hit. No real story to go with it. Just the thought of the image of 14 cops dragging two 4th 11 spinners from the nets was a funny one. Donkey XX. And I think you might reply where it was. It was in Taylor's Lakes in the inner outer northwest of Melbourne.
Yes. I wonder if this guy who wrote in, firstly, he's nicknamed himself Donkey.
Yeah.
And I wonder if those spinners were 4th 11. He's probably dropped them down a few grades there as well. But, he goes, is there an image that like better sums up the sorry state of affairs
Yeah.
that we're currently living in? I mean, yes, there probably are images, but...
Yeah, see them a lot. Riots.
But I mean, I sort of think about cops showing up at nets with two guys just bowling. And I sort of think, in a poetic way, it's not too dissimilar from any normal net at grade training if you're a lower grader.
Yeah.
Everyone around you is a cop one way or another.
One way or another, yeah.
Able to sort of, or just standing there physically imposing, judging you, arms folded, able to reprimand you physically or emotionally, mentally at any point in time for valid or invalid reasons.
And often with a baton and pepper spray.
That's my memory.
Or is it capsicum spray?
I think some people refer to capsicums as peppers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had an absolute nightmare once in Subway. Mate, what the fuck is going on down here? We're like two blokes just trying to have a hit. Yeah. We're trying to get a game in the Ashes. I mean, they're talking now we're going to get a game in Perth. Are we? Fuck, I don't know. Quarantine, all this shit. Two blokes just want to get outside, have a net. 14 cops turn up. What the fuck are you two doing? You think you want to get outside and play some recreational sport?
12 to 14.
Governed by laws. 12 to 14 is a very specific number.
Around 12, 14.
How do you reckon the call went out to the police? Got a 10-4.
Yeah. Yeah, do you reckon they've just absolutely fanged it to the ground?
Yeah. Yeah, just a couple of bored blokes.
Yeah.
Just like, we'll fucking get these. We'll get these blokes. Worst blokes in the comp. All right, Pez. Australia women, India women, 11-5 series victory.
Yeah.
We'll cover the T20s because I think we covered the test match last week.
Yeah, we solved the complexities of of women's test cricket last week.
we solved women's test cricket. Once again, another success for TGC. But first and foremost, 11-5. I don't care if that doesn't really tell the story. My team won, and my team was playing cricket in a country that I live in, and I support that team, and I got to see it on TV, and that feels good.
Yeah, got to be grateful for the small mercies.
You got to take the small mercies here, Matt.
Yep, your own country playing on TV in your country. Yeah,
in prime time.
Yeah, I totally agree. He goes because it's an important win because Australian cricketing superiority remains alive for now.
Yeah, it feels tenuous.
India's coming. You know, like you saw Smriti Mandana and Shafali Verma, like they just played a few shots. It's a bit like, it's coming.
I've not seen that before.
Yeah, big old railway sleeper just dropping down on those balls there. Real lot of balance.
Yeah. That's why I'm tempering my my celebrations a little bit.
See, I think you've got to go the other way.
Be cavalier with it?
You got to rage against the dying of the light, he goes.
Okay, yep.
When I worked at Telstra, one of the values was extracting value from the core. I don't think extracting, but it was value from the core. And the idea was that landlines are old, but there's still a lot of money in landlines, especially for old people.
Sure.
And I think it's the same thing for Australian cricket. Yep. A lot of old people think we're good, and we've got to enjoy that. We've got to live in the past.
Absolutely.
And so if we've still got a bit of success, 11-5, baby.
Sure.
You could double your points, India. Call your Jets. Call thy Jets, if you will. But yeah, they're looking pretty good.
Is there any satisfaction for Australia knowing that they've won the series without really a great summer in this series? Obviously, the women play in an Ashes series after the men's Ashes series, so there's more cricket to come. And the WBBL starts on Thursday. But is there any satisfaction with Australia winning without Elisa Healy having any huge game, Elise Perry doing well, Meg Lanning, Ash Gardner even, and like Australia still won the series without the sort of the biggest names.
Pez protected us in the test match. Pez gave us safety.
Really won the test match. Yeah.
If we relinquish that, we're cooked.
Sure.
All of us. Because there's 4 points on offer there.
That's a good point.
But you're right. Otherwise, the big names didn't do heap apart from Beth Mooney.
Yeah.
And
Beth Mooney is underrated.
Beth Mooney's the best.
We were talking about this on our live stream. We did a live stream for the third T20 on Sunday evening, and thank you to those who joined us on our YouTube. But
25,000 that last count.
Not bad. But yeah, I was saying this on the stream. Like Beth Mooney is somehow underrated, even though she's the second best
ranked
ranked second in the world. But I feel like because she's opening the batting with Elisa Healy, who's obviously had that blockbuster World Cup, although Beth Mooney was the leading run scorer in that tournament as well, and she's obviously related to the wonderful men's cricketer Ian Healy. So there's definitely some sort of stardom factor with that. But Beth Mooney, like every time I watch her bat, imperious.
Yes.
Imperious. Runs both sides of the wicket. Good.
Good tempo as well through different parts of the game. Like there was still a lot to enjoy. Like Talia McGrath came through as well, and Talia McGrath.
Well, player of the match in the third T20, and for mine, the find of the series. And that's not a big revelation, but like that to me looks like the future. I mean, she's an all-rounder, but she did mostly batting in this series and scored runs consistently at big times.
So after the second T20 game, which she sealed, and it was looking a bit shaky.
Yeah.
She was out in the field getting interviewed. Right. And this is the sort of value from the core stuff I'm talking about. This is why we got to rage against the dying of the light and continue to insist that our superiority will remain. Because she was asked about the innings and she said, look, batting is batting. It's see ball, hit ball. And that's fucking hard opiate for me, that stuff.
Just dumb it down. Absolute base level.
An Australian has won the game with a bat.
Yep.
And got interviewed. Like she basically won the series.
Yeah, and put it to you in grade terms.
And they said, how'd you do it? How'd you do it against, the rise of the juggernaut of the Asian century? I don't think that was exact words of the question. No. And she said...
Erin Holland didn't ask that specifically.
One half of her mouth opened, the other eye closed, and she said, see ball, hit ball.
Did she look sort of away into the middle distance at the same time?
She did exactly what she did.
Yeah.
And that's all that could be asked.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Mate, I'd be right up for it if every summer... Like I suppose it's spring now at the moment, isn't it? But like every spring, the women sort of like started the summer, with like a big series like this.
Well, they're going to win, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Like if they start losing games, well, no, that's the end of that. Take that away.
The problem is that like usually start the summer or start any kind of event that you want with pre-drinks to like load up for the main thing.
Yeah.
Except that I feel like increasingly the women are the main thing because they
Yes.
give us what we want. They give us the safety we crave.
Our female athletes in this country generally are just basing this off the Olympics.
They carry the can. I thought Australia's spinners were good as well. Shikapandi, he goes.
Yeah.
Ball of the century stuff. I guess. You know,
Oh, yeah.
people are hanging
you-
out for our take.
If you've opened up the internet in the last couple of days, you would have seen the ball. I mean, that was, it was,
Give it to me.
well, it was
Give
cheating.
it to me.
It was It's cheating.
Give it. Can you tell me what you really think about it? Like in a with the full force of your intellect, and then tell me what you think of it as a third grade male player from 10 years ago
Oh, okay.
with a few cricketing insecurities.
Well, my answer's the same for both of them. Just got to play straight. You played all around it. Just trying to play to a square. Hands coming outside.
Healy made it look good.
Yeah.
So you're one of those guys that's like with Shane Warne's ball of the century, like, oh, he bowled a better one to Robin Smith later. You know, oh, she bowled an even better one to Beth Mooney later.
Yeah.
Just beat the outside.
Do you remember the ball that Stark bowled to James Vince at the Whacker? And
Yeah.
Vince was trying to hit it through like square leg and
Yeah.
Starks
Yeah.
bowled him up from round
Yeah,
the
it was a
wicket.
leg spinner.
Yeah. I think it was, yeah. He should have just hit it down the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should
When we interviewed Vince about it, he was happy about that.
yeah.
Yeah, good ball.
Yeah, good ball.
I felt like it was a really good ball because it was about to get some late hoop. It had the shape, and then it hit the seam.
Yeah.
And then because of the pace of the ball, it gave it time to seam, and then the seam stood up in a manner that allowed it to hoop again with the seam.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So
It'd be like how at Lords, how it swings behind
exactly,
the stumps.
it was hoop seam hoop.
Hoop, seam, hoop.
Hoop seam hoop. It's that's what we're all aiming for when we bowl. And you know you release the hips when you bowl those big hooping in swingers.
Gotta release the hips.
So those hips don't lie.
Yeah, nice.
Those hips didn't lie from Pundy.
Anyway, Australia win. We feel good about that. And looking forward to the next win that Australia has, whenever that might be.
Yeah, anything.
So let's get into the Ashes.
Let's talk about the Ashes.
Let's get into the Ashes. Now, in a moment's time, we will speak to Ali Martin from The Guardian, who gave us a rundown of the England squad. So we'll speak about that in a moment. But from an Australian sense, the real battle that's been lighting up, notifications across the land is Tim Payne versus Barmy Army. Who's winning that one? Mate, I hate everything that's going on. I hate everything. I want to quit the internet.
Shall we talk about it for 5 minutes, though?
Yeah.
Shall we feed the
10.
beast? Yeah.
Yeah, feed the beast.
Let's hate it, sit above it, and also feed it.
This is
Where do you start?
The main issue is that nothing highlights how little Test cricket that Australia plays now that the Australian Test captain has had to get a job in between series. He's need to find employment. That's how little Australian.
His parents said to him, just, go and get yourself a job.
Get yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
Get a job.
Keep you out of trouble.
Just go down to a local place down there, like a radio down there. Yeah. So the thing is that now he is commenting every single day. He is open for comment every day. He's doing his show with AFL legend Jack Riewoldt.
I noticed that in that, it's Jack and Paney.
It's Jack and Paney. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Is that the order that should go in?
Yeah.
That's a big win for
That's
AFL.
a huge win. Is the Australian Test captain still the second most powerful job in the land? Or is it the chairman of fucking Hawthorn or some shit?
Yeah,
That's
well,
Jeff Cannett, but-
it's after the full forward for Richmond.
Yeah. Dustin Martin has more power than Tim Payne these days. Anyway, so I mean that's the problem, right? That he's commenting every single day. I mean, we spoke about this in the past. There's something just doesn't sit well with me and my ancient feelings of the Australian Test captain having a radio show while he's the current Test captain. Now, I could be Test captain and have this show as well. So, I'd like both things if possible. I am available for selection.
Yeah.
And I wasn't far away from the England squad, let me tell you. But yeah, I mean that's the problem. Didn't you feel with Barmy Army's comments a bit of baiting and then like Payne's response? I was a bit like, I wasn't the best response. When it's highlighted in when it's put together like in a meme that's put together through Photoshop with like some faded Tim Payne angry face and the Barmy Army looking glorious like a fucking trumpet and some shit and like, it's a big battle now and it's like, And the worst thing is that there's actually a World Cup in between this series, which we don't care about down here, apparently. There's no discussion of that. I don't know who the fuck's going to bat 3 or 5 for Australia, or 4 for that matter. But yeah, that's my take on the whole situation, mate.
I think with like the Tim Payne thing specifically, like you know, he's obviously just getting ready for a media career afterwards, and that's what he's doing.
Of course,
of
course.
Like the thing that strikes me with England and Tim Payne that's interesting is I'm not sure English people like understand what a Tim Payne is.
They don't get him. No,
they don't get Tim Payne. They think they get him, but they also don't get what a Tim Payne is as a Test captain. Which I understand. I want to try and pass, and that's why they react to him with specific ferocity.
Yeah,
because I think English people are the self-proclaimed like banter kings, like that they actually create the rules.
Yes,
we all sort of sit in their shadow of the clever quips and all that kind of thing.
That's right.
If Tim Payne responds to what the Barmy Army says, then the Barmy Army says, "Oh, got a nibble though, didn't we?" I got a little bit of a nibble in there.
That's the grimmest.
Why do I want to die?
That is the grimmest thing,
Yeah. Well, they'll explain to you why it's not, because they're the banter kings.
Like it's just a fishing emoji.
Yeah. Any response. But like, and this makes sense because the Barmy Army, like they focused on his runs. Joe Root got more runs this year. And like a lot of people, in Australia responded with sort of bemusement. It was like, but he's a wicketkeeper. Yeah. Like what? He takes catches.
And also Joe Root's really good.
Yeah. He bats 7. But I think what the English with Tim Payne see is like they think they see a really weak captain.
Right.
Because every Australian captain that's come before Tim Payne has been a worldie who scored like prodigal worldie runs and beat down England with multiple centuries.
Yeah, that's right.
Growing up in the fucking harsh sun of Australia, going to England all here with a big beard and destroying hopes and dreams with the blade.
That's right.
And when they see Tim Payne, they're like, you're none of those things. You don't fit the stereotype of the Australian captain. So we see weakness there. Yeah. Because all of these other captains, all the way going back to Benno, apart from like Graham Yallop or some shit, they've been that. They've been like the archetypal player. It's just worldie runs.
And at one time or another, they've been the best player in the world.
They've cucked England.
Like, maybe not Taylor. Was Taylor ever the best player in the world?
He was pretty hot in '89 going over the Ashes.
Sure.
Right? He wasn't captain then. But he's hurt England with his blade.
Yeah. And then it was like, okay, you go from there, Steve Waugh, of course, into Ponting.
Mate, you could go further.
Into Clark.
Further back.
Into Smith.
Border captain 93 tests for Australia.
He captained 93 tests.
Yeah, fair few. Steve Waugh's like 60.
That's more than Joe Root.
Border. Before that, you're looking at even Kim Hughes. Before that, you're looking at Greg Chappell. Before that, you're looking at Ian Chappell.
That's right.
You're looking at going back to fucking William Morris Laurie, Bob Simpson,
fucking Bannerman.
Man, exactly.
Was he
Jack Gregory in. And
Harry Kewell.
I think this is what England sees in a captain. They go, Tim Payne, you're not that. You average 32. You're shit. It's Australia's not doing that at the moment with the captain.
Yeah.
It's all happening because these other captains cucked England, and they're like, well, Payne's never cucked us.
That's right. I feel like that's
Payne's
right.
never cucked us, so let's go at him as banter kings, TM.
Yeah.
And Tim Payne might score 100 this summer.
I get the feeling like he might. Had a look at the names on the team sheet.
Hell of a time to bring up his 100. And so, I noted Barney Ronay this week. He wrote, football and indeed all human experiences become so aggressively tribal. Now, admittedly, he was referring on this occasion to the Saudi takeover of Newcastle United.
These are very similar.
Well, actually, it's been made clear it's not aligned with the Saudi kingdom, just overseen by one of them.
It's a PIF, mate.
Yeah, it's PIF. But it applies to the Ashes war too. Like I sort of like this whole thing that happened with the Ashes around England coming out, quarantine conditions. They're still trying to sort it out.
Right.
Like if something went wrong in the current online discourse, if something went wrong and there was another fucking COVID outbreak and we freaked out like the hermit nation we are, and England was in trouble and players couldn't play, there'd be a whole host of people in Australia who'd be like, got him, or like they wouldn't be sympathetic at all to that. We'd be like, yeah, that's a win.
Right.
In the same way that, like people who support Newcastle are like announce Mbappe, or like if Hitler bought my club, as long as he brought Mbappe in, we're all good.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
Same thing, right?
3 points on a Saturday fixes everything.
Exactly.
Like that, yeah.
Anyway, that's where we're 8 weeks out. I think there's going to be a break from all this bullshit because the World T20 is coming up.
Yeah. And that'll distract England. That'll distract England because they've got a good chance.
Yeah.
Us less so. Anyway, so the England squad has been announced. That was announced on Monday or Sunday, one of those 2 days. It doesn't matter when. But we spoke to Ali Martin from The Guardian over there in the UK, and here he is right now.
We're with Ali Martin, great friend of the show, the #1 cricket writer at The Guardian, the top cricket correspondent chief. It's not clear. He's asked me not to call him that, but we all know that he is. And that's why we get him on the show. Ali, welcome back.
Cheers for having me, boys. Good to see you both.
Straight from the club, getting that rig in order ahead of the summer. Obviously, you coming out?
It's a bit TBC at the moment. We're kind of jumping through all the right hoops, and sort of visas are pending and what have you. And there's a chance, but we still don't quite know what it involves, how easy we can get into the country, whether flights are going to be available, whether it's 14 days on arrival. So there's a lot still to sort of tick off before I can definitely say it's going to happen. But yeah, it's tracking in a good direction, as is the tour as a whole, really.
Ali, you would have had a few lines directly into the England camp over the last week. And by that, I mean, the England camp is a pond of fish, and you're an angler with many lines. And so on a scale of sort of pull out to posturing, like how real were England's threats to withdraw from the Ashes, and who won the negotiation?
Good question. I mean, I guess you got to say the brinkmanship worked for England, didn't it? They still haven't signed off completely on the absolute final details, and there's still a few things outstanding. I think it relates to visas. I think there's some really small snagging issues on stuff like access to pools and facilities and what have you. It's getting all very messy. But for all intents and purposes, the tour is going ahead, and England have got I don't want to say full strength. It's the fully available squad that they're sending out, which suggests to me that they've pretty much got everything they asked for, and the Aussies have lost an important psychological battle right from the start.
just on the squad, Ali, like what was the first thing that you thought? What's the first thing that came into your head when you saw the names in the squad?
Well, sort of the nature of the job is that I spend the previous day previewing it. So, and what I then do is then look at my probable squad and sort of tick off how many I got right. And yeah, what was it? It was, I mean, I had 18, so I just had Zaki Mahmood in there, who wasn't in the final squad. It was a 17-man squad. So there were no great surprises. We'd sort of been hearing noises in the lead up that everyone was going to go ahead. Someone like Joss Buttler, who was probably the one that was wavering the most on the tour, we already sort of knew was going to be there. So yeah, no great surprises. And yeah, my immediate thought was it's going to be a pretty tough tour for England. I don't 5-0. No. They could do something out there, because I don't actually rate the Australian team that highly, but they is not as strong as they could be in terms of, if you add Archer and Stokes in there, I think you're looking at a real blockbuster battle.
Yeah.
Lying ahead as it is. I don't know. We're kind of clutching at little sort of bits of hope, like India winning by using 20 men and net bowlers, and we're also looking at the 86-87 tour, which is that summer. England lost at home to New Zealand. They lost at home to India as well, and they went out and won the Ashes. And they had a guy called Broad in the team. So there are 3 ticks there. Although that said, the India result is still outstanding. That series might even conclude next year, so we don't necessarily know that England lost that series. But let's face it, it's not been the best build-up.
Ali, the primary reaction to England's squad announcement online, again, the best place to judge these things, seemed to be like disappointment. Not because like England have one guy that averages over 36 and only one guy that bowls 140s, but because there wasn't a bolter that they could be distracted by. So, like, how important is it for any squad to have a shiny new toy selection, and have England missed a trick by omitting Liam Livingstone and the zero-capped 24-year-old leg spinner in Matt Parkinson?
I don't know if they've missed a trick. I mean, I think both those guys are going to be in Australia, and Parkinson in particular is a bit of a cause célèbre over here, because people want to see a lot more of him, essentially because he's a leg spinner. But he does it, he does average sort of mid-20s with the ball, and doing that as a leg spinner in England is no mean feat. But yeah, we haven't. I think Saki Mahmood would have been the one that I would have looked at and thought, especially looking at the last test England played at the Oval. Craig Overton was in that attack. England spent about 150 overs in the dirt, and Joe Root only chucked him the ball for 16 or 18 of those overs. So he didn't seem to fancy him then when when the going was tough. And so I kind of thought that Mahmood was probably going to be the bolter if anyone was. But Chris Silverwood has said at the start of the year he doesn't really want to be handing out caps in an Ashes series. He wants guys to be experienced before then. And he's gone for an experienced squad, which is, completely capped, no uncapped players. And there's 9 guys in there that have toured Australia before as well. So he's sort of banking on a bit of familiarity and a bit of sort of solidity that he's had over the last year. But let's face it, the results haven't been great. And I also wonder whether it feeds into the fact that as head coach and sole selector, he hasn't actually got out and been able to sort of check up on guys as much as a sort of a normal chairman of selectors would do. So it's a sort of slightly lukewarm squad, isn't it? But there are players in there that you think, yep. I mean, Ollie Robinson, for example, he had that a bit of a barnstorming tour for the Lions last year when they won in Australia for the first time. And he's obviously played Sydney grade cricket, which is a higher standard than county cricket, I'm told. So
That's true.
that, he's the one that we're sort of looking at, and it's so much to pin on a bloke who's only played 5 tests, but he's made a great start. And so it's guys like him, obviously hoping that Joe Root's incredible form continues. And just that guys possibly like David Malan, who obviously had a decent tour last time. People sort of point to the fact he only averages sort of late 20s, but in Australia he averages in the 40s, and he's got 100 under his belt already. So he knows he can do it, and he's a pretty experienced bloke now. So I don't think all hope is lost just looking at that squad. But Stokes and Archer are just 2 massive holes in that squad, and one of them's definitely out. The other one is, I don't know, it's not looking great, but Chris Silverwood did give us a slight little, suggestion that there's a chance he could come out, but it really is on him rather than England putting any pressure on there.
And it feels like Ollie Stone as well would have been a guy who would have made it on the boat. I still like to think that England are coming via boat. I feel like it gives a nice romanticism to the tour itself. But with the bowlers, Ali, I mean, how bad was Stuart Broad's injury? It was his calf, wasn't it? He did a calf, didn't he? I mean, I get the feeling like it was actually quite bad. I mean, do you have any update of his injury status? He's obviously in the squad, so it's good enough. But any idea?
He's on Instagram as well, saying he's running.
Okay. So 50.
Well, yeah. Well, he did. I remember he did it in the build-up to the Lord's Test, and he said it was like he'd been sort of whipped in the back of his calf. Didn't know where it came from, and it was quite serious. I think grade 2 or grade 3 tear. So it was quite a serious injury, and especially for it was a bit of an old bowler's kind of injury as well, where you kind of think, But you're right. He is back in training, and the official word is he's going to be back bowling in the indoor school at Loughborough next week as well. So. He's tracking in the right direction in that respect. There's still 8 weeks to go. I mean, we've just named the squad now, and we're kind of all thinking Ashes, but there is still 8 weeks to go until the first test, and about 3 or 4 weeks until England actually get on the plane, or the red ball specialists do as well. And in between that, I know that it won't be on the radar of many Australians, but there is also a World Cup before then as well. So there's a bit going on before we get into full pre-Ashes, phony war, etc. But I think Broad looks in good shape. It's just Stokes. I think everyone's gutted about Ben Stokes, to be honest. I think that is, I think for fans in Australia, I think they want to see an Australian team beat. I'm assuming they want to see an Australian team beat an England team with Ben Stokes in it. I mean, that's where he kind of announced himself into the world 2 tours ago. And then we had this sort of whole Willie won't he saga 4 years ago, which ultimately turned out he didn't come on tour. And I think that really overshadowed England's tour. And because England have just kept the door open slightly when they announced the squad for a possible return, however remote, that's probably going to continue again as well. So it's a bit of a distraction, but they are also reasonably used to playing without him, because he's been out since the start of the India series as well, and he's a bloke who does pick up injuries along the way as well. So it's not that they're not used to playing without him, but when he's not there, the team becomes unbalanced. They don't know whether to play 4 seamers. Someone like Jack Leach doesn't get a game when Stokes isn't there. So he is the absolute keystone to this England team, and it really does leave them open.
Oh yeah, I think that everyone here would love to see Ben Stokes, and I think Jofra Archer as well. It's such a shame that they're not here. But Ali, I know you mentioned, and I think this is a bit of sorcery from your part, that the phony war hasn't started yet. I mean, you've already claimed a psychological victory. And I guess just on that note, like, I know many don't give England a hope on the field, or too much of a hope, but do you and the English cricket press pack feel you can win the war of words with your sort of snide painfully clever Etonian quips while stereotyping Australians as dumb, cultural cringe hermit nation bogans with nary a hint of class.
I think we fancy our chances on that front. I must say though, it is big news that Malcolm Connor's back. I mean, that is kind of like, he's spent that is a massive call up for the Aussies ahead of this series, and you can just see he's absolutely licking his lips at the moment, isn't he? He cannot wait to get stuck into his squad piece that I read today was not too flattering. Although he noted out that Root's quite good, which is pretty inarguable, and
not a bad stick.
And and Ollie Robinson's all right, but it's gonna be good fun. And if we can get out there, it'd be great to see those guys as well, because it's funny. It's an interesting relationship, an interesting dynamic between the two packs, but we do get on pretty well, and there's some good blokes in there, believe it or not.
Well, speaking of the war of words, I mean, I do want to know when Joe Root is going to get his own show on TalkSport, and do you think that he needs to take more catches to usurp Tim Payne?
I know, and that was a funny one, that wasn't it, from the Barmy Army. They've slightly lost the plot the last couple of tweets. They had something about they've also don't know how Venn diagrams work. I don't know if you've seen that one, but they're kind of, I was just like, oh guys, come on, they need to up the game. So they're flagging, but I do feel sorry for those guys, because they are absolutely itching to get out to Australia. Maybe there's a chance that maybe that fourth or fifth test they can get out there if the borders have properly opened there, but they're not going to be there from the start. And again, that's a massive blow for England. Because when you are in the dirt against, when you're watching Shaun Marsh grind out 200, you need the Barmy Army out there to keep you going. So that is a big blow for them. Tim Payne, the shock jock. I mean, he's sort of only doing what he's sort of doing what Broad and Anderson are doing. That he sort of started his post-playing career before he's retired from Test cricket. But I mean, he's got to do something, hasn't he? Because it's been so long since he's played Test cricket. Yeah. Played any cricket. I mean, I'm guessing he's got this neck problem as well, right? So he's not even playing state cricket either. So I hope he remembers how to play.
I like it. You didn't even mean that. But just one off the side a little bit, Ali. Ian Watmore is no longer the ECB chair. So, in my view, most normal people with jobs and friends who like cricket don't know what a national chair person does. And I think that's why our one is doing a second term. He'd only been there 13 months, Ian Watmore, and I read that it concluded with the story that he dogged a drink with the county cricket boys for a Jethro Tull concert in Stoke, and that was the sort of final nail in the coffin. Now that he's gone, will England cricket be great again?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he was holding us. I don't think he was holding English cricket back in any respects. I think he just. Do you know what? I think he got the job in early 2020, and then there's a sort of long process before you actually start the job, which ended up being in September. So the world. I don't know if you guys noticed in Australia, but the world changed quite a bit in that time. And the job itself of being ECB chair, I think it was, they had a broadcast deal locked down. They had 100 coming. They had what they thought was a pretty much, 5 years of peace and prosperity coming up. Suddenly, with COVID, just absolutely descended, into a firefighting role. And I think he'd taken it on sort of 2 days a week. It was kind of maybe a little sort of pre-retirement kind of hobby job that was coming up. You kind of. And I think essentially it just got big on him. I think the meeting with the counties as well. There is still quite a bit unresolved about how the domestic structure is going to look. I mean, English cricket is always talking about the domestic structure. We're never pleased with ourselves on that front. So, but that did sound like a meeting where leadership was required. It was possibly lacking, and so the knives came out pretty soon after that.
Ali, thanks so much for joining us.
Pakistan as well. I've got to say Pakistan as well, because that that was a decision which I don't think would have been solely come on his under his. I mean, it is his brief. He was the head of the organisation that made that call, but it as much as they tried to sort of say it didn't come with collaboration with other parties. These things do get sounded out, in sort of back channels and what have you. So it was a sort of collective decision by English cricket, a pretty disgraceful one, I must admit, not to really even think about just giving players the option and sending out some sort of team, because English cricket really did owe Pakistan for helping to bail out the sport in this country last year. While it didn't necessarily fall on him, if you're a leader, you have to take responsibility for these things. You have to front up and you have to explain it, and you have to be open to scrutiny on that front. there was that really, really weak statement that they put out, which kind of referenced mental health. And I feel like administrators are hiding behind that a lot at the moment. Not that it's not an important issue. I mean, we're talking about Ben Stokes earlier. It's an important issue. But when you start using it to sort of mask other decisions that you're making that are a bit more cold, you've got to get out there and explain it. And it was just a bit of a failure of leadership. So I think there was a lot of questions asked internally about that one. And I think that plus county cricket, plus the fact that the guy probably the job wasn't the one that he'd kind of taken up. That's why it changed. And we're kind of waiting to see where, when Ian Botham starts, basically.
Ali Mann, we appreciate your sober analysis with the odd quip thrown in here and there. You're obviously timing your run well with when it comes to the phony war. And can I just say, your rig looks fantastic. The sun on you looks great. I know we've got the same haircut, and I think you're doing well. I'm looking forward to seeing how well it's looking when you do get out here in Australia, and hopefully we can have a beer.
Fingers crossed. Cheers, boys. Good to see you.
Thank you so much to Ali for his wonderful time. Love speaking to Ali. Mate, I hope,
We're really lucky to speak to Ali, to be honest.
Everyone.
Can I just say, every time we get him on the line, I ask him what his title is, and he's really humble. He always just says, just a cricket writer at The Guardian. And I just go to the next level, and I think it makes him awkward.
Yeah. He's actually not employed by anyone. He's actually jobless.
But we're very lucky when all these journos come on to get some sober and informed analysis.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't deserve it in any way.
That's true. 5-0. Marsh Cup, Sheffield Shield, WBBL, domestic cricket in Australia is what I want to talk about, Pez. And
this is the best part of the show.
Yeah, mate, coming into it, it's just like, I mean, you could cop last year, couldn't you? And I could cop it last year because, it was the beginning of COVID and it was like, let's just get the Sheffield Shield going. Let's get it going ahead. Let's have some cricket again. Let's have some form of normality. And now it's like, does any of this count? Do runs at Karen Rolton Oval in October count? What's the point of this? It feels extremely harsh to say that because there are some really good cricketers playing
mate,
Sheffield
talk about
Shield.
fucking Squid Game there.
Yeah.
If you don't score 100, you're dead.
That's basically it.
It's like archery. It's like it's become one of those sports where it's like if you make a mistake, you're out. Everyone's expected to do perfectly.
Yeah.
So what in this latest one, Tassie v Queensland, Tassie make 500 declared.
Yeah.
Tim Ward 100, New South Wales boy, not anymore. Jordan Silk 100,
Yeah.
New South Wales boy, not anymore. New South Wales must have some good bats. Anyway, Queensland declare 150 behind. Uzi declares, sets up the game.
Yeah, Marnus and Khawaja didn't score runs.
Yeah, Marnus carried on.
Yeah.
That's some fucking carry on shit.
Yeah, some carry on shit. Doesn't look good. He was
There's also people defending it as well, going like, "Oh, he's showing enthusiasm." Heaps of ways to show. He's just being a coach. I think he'll grow out of it. He'll need to. Just some. It's petulant stuff.
Do you remember this last year? Smith was carrying on a bit as well. Then Marnus did it as well.
Smith carries on too.
Yeah,
Smith's got heaps of petulance at first class level.
It doesn't look good.
It's baby stuff. Good sticks. Two ideas same time. Love my kid. Throw him out the window.
Yeah.
Good sticks. Carry on.
Yeah.
No need. So Queensland tried to set it up. Tassie says, nah, 3 for 196. Couple of there's a night. Watch him get some runs. And Tim Ward, who's player of the match, says the decision was made to keep batting and make sure we didn't lose this one. So it ends up like 2.7 and 2.3 points each or some shit.
Right.
So what is this? Is this a stage for Coates to make runs? Is that it? And put their name up in lights? And I wonder, was Peter Siddle's first game for Tassie in Shield cricket?
Was it?
Yeah.
Didn't he play last year?
Oh,
in the Shield?
Did he? He could have. I thought I was seeing him in Tassie kit. I could be wrong about that. I thought it was his first time.
I had a feeling he was playing last year with Slug et al.
Yeah, Slugley.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he was.
Anyway.
Okay, neither here nor there, actually, for what I'm about to say. When Tassie decides, listen, we're just going to bat, we don't think, because they say we don't think we can get 10 wickets on this deck.
Right.
How's Peter Siddle's 70 Test meant to feel about that?
Yeah.
And how are you meant to grow and develop as a player and learn when you just avoid sort of match-winning circumstances?
Yeah.
It really was just a pageant.
Is Karen Rolton a drop-in as well? Play AFL there?
I said this on the stream the other night. Karen Rolton averaged 55 in Test cricket, 48 in ODIs, and 50 in T20. So the ground is committing to the bit. There's runs.
Yeah.
With respect.
I like
Karen Rolton, you're just equating it with runs. Karen Rolton would be happy with that.
True. Jimmy Pearson scored 100 as well, I think, for Queensland.
He's a good player.
He had his kit stolen last week.
Yep.
Mate, I just like piecing this thing together. I might drop either this week or next week. But I was just trying to think about like what cricket's been like across the world, really, but also here. It's so hard to make sense of any of it because, like, I guess scheduling and there's heaps going on, but there's nothing going on, and players having to bubble again, and the Big Bash is going to be there's rule changes. They're bubbling as well, and the WBBL they're all down in Tassie at the moment for 2 weeks, and it's all very confusing. Like, and then like the women's series is going on, and wash out basically for the Test match, wash out for the ODI, wash out for the first T20. Yeah, very, very confusing. Like what to make of all of this. And then
It's dystopia.
Guys getting their kits stolen in South Australia. Then Jimmy Pearson scores 100 with someone else's bat. And then, Pez, New South Wales and Victoria, they're going to play each other 3 times in the Shield before the Ashes to warm up. And there's a number of Australian players, or you think Australian players will be playing for either of those states. If I can read you a quote.
Please. Oh, you're totally right about Peter Siddle, by the way. Played last year.
New South Wales and Victoria have given up on playing against other state teams before Christmas and are now hopeful of instead arranging up to 3 Marsh Sheffield Shield games against one another in the coming weeks, with state borders to New South Wales and Victoria currently closed due to high rates of COVID-19 infections. Those 2 states' participation in the start of the Shield and Marsh One-Day Cup seasons had hinged on being able to quarantine in another state before being able to play. I wonder, I hope the people in the UK who listen to this leading into the Ashes, maybe getting some scope of an idea of what COVID, the current situation is like down here. Because I think actually we're heading towards, in Australia, a higher vaccine percentage rate in the country than the UK. Yet the UK have already been open for about 2.5 months, I think now, maybe even close to 3 months.
Right.
And then like we started this show by like a couple of guys down in Victoria trying to go to the Nets and 14 cops turn up. I mean, that's pretty extreme. But then also like now New South Wales and Victoria can't get into a state because of the high, the I suppose relatively high COVID numbers. And now they're going to have to play each other 3 times before the Ashes. And now Perth is the final test match of the Ashes. Now they're saying that they're hopefully that's going to go ahead. But at the moment, the the Prime Minister of Western Australia is very unlikely to open the borders to anyone, and that's in January. So it's very hard to get this like dystopian universe. I'm hoping that is coming across to our UK listeners, being like, what the fuck is going on down there? Because it is now getting a little bit silly.
Yeah, well, I mean,
do something with that.
I'm an Australian, and you read out like 3 or 4 kind of nuanced points about how COVID's working here, and it washes over my head. Like I can only imagine in the UK, there's a reason that like politicians talk in slogans. Like it's just you can only take in one thing.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
Yeah,
basically, we need to get vaccinations up high and get going.
So to that end, and now this is a political podcast.
Please,
New South Wales and Sydney specifically opened up yesterday, so they've got past their 70% double jab target. I think Victoria's about 10 days away from joining them, and then 80% double vaccination is when everyone opens up the country. But that's what it's supposed to be, except all the states have different powers according to how they want to run it. So it's not really much of a federation we've got going on. Anyway, the IPL Pez. Now, of course, if you want to join our Patreon or our YouTube, patreon.com/Great Cricketer, or click the join button on our YouTube in the coat tier, you get access to all of the audio for our IPL shows, of which we've been doing a number, and also the World Cup, which starts in 2 weeks' time for the most part. Like the main part of the tournament starts in 2 weeks. Australia's first game is against South Africa. India's first game against Pakistan. Bit going on there for Australia, South Africa, I mean.
Yeah.
That's patreon.com/Great Cricketer if that's what you want to join. And you also get #AskTGC Fridays. Now, Pez, we've had 2 sort of playoff games. There's 2 more to go. But MS Dhoni and Josh Hazlewood's CSK have made the final. They beat Ricky Ponting and Steve Smith and Marcus Stoinis' Delhi.
Well, trying to like get really general about it.
Yeah.
You have a whole league and a whole sort of round robin set of matches.
Bit of a league sort of thing.
Yeah, some shit.
Yeah, it's in India. It's a sort of premier.
But so far in the so it's a Premier League in India, played in the UAE. But like, it's all just reverted to type in the playoffs. So all the big guns have made it there, and then Dhoni, who hasn't been able to see the ball, he's literally he's almost legally blind.
How old is he?
He's getting towards his 40s, I think. He's like late 30s, Dhoni. He hasn't been able to see all tournament, almost comically so. but his captaincy's been bang on and everybody loves him. And he gets into the...
He's 40.
He's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. But gets into the playoff. He comes in. They need 19 off 8. You'd be going, can you just get Moeen Ali on strike? And he just goes bang, 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 game over. It's just the Dhoni of old. Clock turns back. The lion roars. Everybody loves him. And then on the other hand, you've got RCB, who've just got every big gun known to man. Kohli, Maxwell, De Villiers, for example.
Yes.
It wasn't a choke overnight, but they lost and they're out. You know, and this is a team that hasn't been able to ever win.
Yeah.
Bangalore. So
And
there's a bit of toxic stuff online about that.
That was Virat Kohli's final game as captain for RCB. He will continue to play for RCB.
Yep.
But and that's also him. That's heading into as well his last tournament for India as captain of the T20, the white ball setup, because he's retiring for one day. Captain as well. So no wins in the IPL as captain for Virat Kohli.
Yeah. So CSK are in. They're a winning unit. They have a pretty good side, but they just seem to be a very happy franchise. We talk to Shane Watson every week, and he talks so highly. He speaks so highly of being at CSK.
Yeah.
So they just have the winning knack, and then they're going to play against Kolkata or Delhi. Delhi is Ponting and Rishabh and shit. They've probably been the best team all year.
They finished first.
Probably the final you want to see. The KKR are coming home hot, and they've got Sunil Narayan, who destroys everybody.
Yeah.
So what else do you say?
Well, Owen Morgan is the captain of KKR, and he batted himself 8 in this game where they just beat RCB. So he scored 8 runs. So that's an improvement.
But look, Dhoni's been able to be captain just as a statue and just as a figurehead on field. And I feel like Morgan's getting to that place as well. Like nobody has a better dad energy on field than Owen Morgan. Discuss. The way he holds himself, the way he never relinquishes or moves from just that basic 1,000-yard squint. Nothing. He's completely unflappable. Even when he talks to people on the field, like his bowlers, I notice that like he never makes any demonstrable movements with his arms or body language. His hands just stay by his side. It's like he's a master body language expert. He gives he gives nothing to anybody.
Yeah.
And obviously that translates into runs and wickets, though none of them are his own at the moment.
It's quite hard to separate the back end of the IPL being in the UAE and the T20 World Cup, if we can talk about that now.
Yes.
I was just thinking about KKR. Lockie Ferguson's been bowling quick for KKR. He's in the New Zealand squad. New Zealand, so New Zealand, I think it's just another team that'll be better than Australia in the World Cup, because I'm not sure how many games are being played in Sharjah. Now Sharjah is an interesting wicket where there's been, I think, almost every score has been between 120, 130, so low scoring, especially in the IPL with the standard of the batters going on there. But Australia, there's the Ashes, and there's always talk about Tim Payne and the Barmy Army, which we obviously just gave 20 minutes to. But I don't think that anyone in Australia really gives a shit about the T20 World Cup, and it's because they're being told not to care about it. It's not on free-to-air TV. It's on at like weird times, although there's like 5 games with Australia playing. It starts at 9 o'clock. Couldn't be any more perfect. And those are on the weekends. They finish at 1 a.m., so watchable. But it's all just fitting into like, we don't really care about this, but I'm sure the players do. And there are huge concerns about Australia. And if Australia make the semi-final, I got to say I'd be surprised, because I've looked at the squads for all the international teams, including Oman, who's very strong this year. Right. But mate, there are almost every like developed nation team is stronger than the Australian team, and they seem like I can almost go like a 1 to 11 with every team except for Australia. I think there are just holes everywhere.
Yeah, there's a real like hope there's one more rodeo in our aging Galacticos vibe. Like,
yeah,
there's only one player in the Australian side who is currently sort of a dominant T20 player, and that's Glenn Maxwell.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other names in the Australian side who have been good and still have a lot of good cricket in them. But this isn't a team that's played together for a long time, and they've got huge issues when it comes to the batting. There's no way you can actually piece the side together that doesn't create a big omission or a big hole. And then having watched, we're sort of talking real X's and O's here because we've been following the IPL, but the cricket over in the UAE is so specific to the wickets that are there. In particular, there's one wicket in Sharjah that's just like every game goes the same way. You've got to score heaps of runs in the power play, and then everything just slows down in the middle, and you need like really good spinners or big power hitters to get through it somehow. Australia have some okay players, but they've got no skill. Not no skill, but relative to other teams, they're pretty short when it comes to the middle overs, and they have been for quite a long time, realistically. And that's with respect to a lot of the players who have done things in different tournaments, and they're worldies in their own right in a lot of ways. But we're sort of like reputation worldies. Yeah. David Warner's just been punted from Sunrisers Hyderabad, so he's coming in pretty cold. Yeah. Aaron Finch is coming in cold. He hasn't played for a long time. He's had some surgery, etc.
He's playing for his spot in New Zealand.
Number 3, there's a big issue. Number 3 is where Steve Smith would bat. Ricky Ponting hasn't been selecting him. He's got some other good overseas players, but like Smith in T20s isn't Smith in Test matches. He's barely got a game. Mitch Marsh is the guy who's been going well at 3 for Australia, and then there's Matt Wade who they've played him with the gloves the entire time. He only bats in the top 3 really. Bredig did a great article the other day saying that if he goes into the middle, his average is like 8 or something. Right. I mean, he's working on it. So whichever, and Glenn Maxwell's been amazing. He bats 4 for RCB. Will he bat 4 for Australia? Yeah. Do you build the team around him? You should. Yeah. But that's going to have some big impacts everywhere else. It's just, there's some square peg round hole stuff. Stoinis is injured. Yeah. It's not shaping up well. Like, guys are going to have to transcend themselves.
And like our bowling attack is good, right? It's a good bowling attack. It's not great in Sharjah. Like it doesn't have the same impact when you've got 4 guys who are bowling 150. Like that's not. It seems to me like the IPL teams, which aren't necessarily like an IPL team, wouldn't necessarily beat an international team, right? But if you look at the pattern of how those teams are being selected, they've basically got like one like lightning quick guy, 2 spinners, and then guys who bowl more like into the wicket, stump to stump kind of stuff. Yep. And Australia,
low 130s.
And Australia's like still like in that metronomic sense of like we're going to play every game at the Gabba. Now these guys are super skilled. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Pat Cummins is a great player in all forms of cricket. Mitch Stark with the white ball is sensational, and Hazelwood's doing well for his IPL team as well for Chennai, but. It just feels like as a package group, and then like, are you going to play 2 spinners? Do you play Zampa and do you play Agar? How does that compare to other teams? Well, not that favourably, especially on those wickets. So, yeah, it doesn't look great.
And Langer plays Scorcher's ball from 2011. And it's been a big complaint from a lot of people that they're pretty old school tactics. 5 bowlers, fewer batters. Australia just feel like a team that's like the Galacticos from a few years ago, and they're hoping that one more rodeo will suffice. It's just like you're not going to be so confident as to just rule out any Australian success, but like they just don't feel like a fresh, innovative team that's together. There are a lot of guys who've done stuff in the past and just hoping it comes off again.
Yeah. So the first stage of the tournament is the qualifying teams. Which I can't think of all of them, but it'd be like Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands, Oman, PNG, Sri Lanka, Netherlands. I think that's about it. The 2 of those teams will qualify
Bangladesh.
for Bangladesh, for the tournament who beat us, 4-1.
Easy.
Yeah. Well, they beat New Zealand as well too. So
that's a good point.
And then the top 2 of those 2 teams will come into the tournament major, which starts. The very first game of the tournament is Australia-South Africa, which starts on a Saturday night, I think it is. And we'll have more information about that because we'll be doing some stuff around the World Cup as well. Of course. All right, we spoke to Graeme Swann. I say that we have. We haven't yet.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
We hope that we have.
But we need to thank our dear friends, Budgie Smuggler at budgiesmuggler.com. Use the code CHAMP at checkout and just see the magic happen. Pez, custom design?
Custom designs. Okay, this week he goes, a lot of people have picked up the release of Cricket 22.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
This isn't an ad for Cricket 22, by the way. I suspect we're too old to be approached to push that kind of gear.
Speak for yourself.
Okay. And I noticed that, and this was pointed out to us by many fans, or many of the audience wrote to us privately, with a particular screenshot to sell, that was trying to sell Cricket 22. There was a lot of good screenshots. It looked like the likeness of Tim Payne was pretty good. Yep. A lot of people wrote in and said, they didn't pick up the scar from his Gregory Peck and stuff. That's a patch.
Well, that's a movie's voice box.
Yeah. But one of the screenshots was...
Freaks me out.
Was a player training in the gym. And you
Yeah.
could see the squat rack, you could see the bikes, you could see the treadmills, you could see the video display on the wall, and just a player training by themselves. And you think, I love that gameplay. That's real life.
Yeah.
You know, you might be coming back from rehab. The one issue that people picked up just from something that was trying to sell itself as a realistic kind of depiction of life as an international cricketer, the good and the bad, is that player on their own was wearing full whites on the treadmill.
Full whites.
Full whites on the treadmill, and and with player name and number on the back. Couldn't zoom in enough to see who it was.
Yeah. Looked like Hazelwood.
Yeah, it was a quick, I think. Yeah. So they've interviewed Hazelwood or Stark.
One of the horses.
Yeah, that's right. And they're like, no, when I train, it's
full whites.
full whites, full white, and then spikes.
Yeah, get myself down to Fitness First here in Bodley Junction. I wear spikes. They asked me to leave.
Yeah,
I say,
right.
I put my baggy green on and
You
say,
got to train how you play. Train how you play. And so, but that alone has whet my appetite. Not really. I haven't played video games since '98. But
well, you're a loser.
yes, I probably
wife and 2 kids.
That's not where I was going with that.
You fucking loser.
There's other dumb shit I do, but like this, I want to talk about other good cricket games through the years. That you can whack on budgie smugglers.
Sensational. Well, the greatest game ever, in my opinion, Shane Warne Cricket 99, or if you're from the Northern Hemisphere, Brian Lara Cricket 99.
Yep.
That was the best cricket game, in my opinion.
Cricket 96 for me. So, and that was also ISS cricket, I think, on Nintendo. But I had the PC version.
Super International Cricket.
Super International Cricket, was it?
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, I was thinking ISS Soccer. So
but maybe there was one on Nintendo. Then there was Super Nintendo. Was the first game I ever played. That was Super International Cricket. And let me tell you, it was fucking super.
I think Super International Cricket was a different game.
Okay.
From memory.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say?
ISS cricket, but
ISS.
I think I'm mixing that up with the soccer game. I mean,
ISIS.
it's just fair. That was the one that ISIS put out in their early iteration. I read a New Yorker article the other day about the origins of ISIS. And people thought it started around 01 with various things that were going on, but actually dates back to 96.
No, it's actually the first instance of sports washing.
Cricket 96
ISIS was sports washing. Fuck. How did we get here? That's my fault.
If ISIS announced Mbappe, but
fucking hell.
There was like 2 commentators on Cricket 96, like one sort of like a bogan Aussie and then a genteel northerner,
like
English
one
northerner.
guy's like the Aussie guy's supposed to be a bit like Greg Ritchie.
Yeah, but he looked like Kyle Kennedy off Neighbours.
Okay.
And there's just this one like commentary clip that continually plays when a player gets hit by a bouncer and falls over. Probably a little bit. They'd be cancelled these days, but. He'd come up and he'd say, "That was a sickening blow, just like the one I got when I wrote me first alimony check." I was 10 to 12 at the time.
You could definitely like customize that on budgies with like an 8-bit graphic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 8-bit stuff.
Yeah.
I had Shane Warne 99, and obviously if we're talking to Will Pekowski, I mean, he was imagining video games when he was literally debuting for Australia.
That's what sport is these days.
I just find that amazing. But it's just real life,
Mate,
isn't
given the... Yeah, when you watch like Premier League teams like relaxing or whatever, and they're all playing FIFA, they're just playing as themselves. Like I would believe that. I would believe Will Pekowski, who said it out of his mouth in front of us.
That when Jasprit Bumrah was coming into bowl at him at the SCG, he thought,
I've seen this before.
And it was a mental response to the fact that he hadn't played at the SCG before, wasn't
he
it?
never played at the SCG.
He never played there. So the way he dealt with that on debut for Australia was to challenge that thought by saying, no, I have played here
before
in a video game capacity.
I've got experience and I did well.
Yeah. And he went on to make 63 or whatever.
Didn't he say he pretended to be Shane Watson? Some shit?
Watto went well.
Yeah. Esports, eh?
Esports.
All right.
Before we hear from Graeme Swann, he goes as well.
That's budgetslugger.com.
20 per hour, whatever. You're going to get something. Yeah. Put the thing in. Also, a big shout to T20 Stars.
T20 Stars.
Great friend Shane Watson's launched his business. It's going well. A lot of stuff going around social at the moment with T20 Stars. You might have seen it.
Yeah.
I saw him have a net with a Facebook personality called Frenchie.
Frenchie follows
Frenchie,
us.
Okay, yeah. G'day, Frenchie. And Frenchie was a willing netsman. He was coming in to bowl or whatever.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, like Frenchie was giving him a bit of stick.
Of course.
He batted first. He could bat. So Watto was coming in and bowling, just
makes
pinging him
sense.
out, and he could bat a little bit.
That makes
He
sense.
played. And then he came into bowling, he did the whole, like, I'm running in off 150 metres.
Yep,
He
sure.
had about 10 mates stationed at long on. Watto just kept hitting it over.
Yeah.
And even, when Watto stands to bat, like, his head's tilted over a little bit. It's just really nice to see people in their stance. When he was in his stance, Watto, just a little bit of a tilted head with his helmet. It wasn't like his eyes weren't square.
No, he wasn't.
His head just came over a bit, and it was just nice to see that in the nets again. But he was
a
with
bit
his
of
T20.
familiarity?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, safety.
Yeah, of course.
We all look for safety. He had his T20 Stars kit, and he was pumping Frenchie. The other one I've seen online with him is him bowling to his son, Will.
Yeah, nice.
And Will's pumping him, and Will can hit it. And you just go,
yeah.
the genetic lottery.
Do you remember we
Congratulations.
saw, was it Ricky? Yeah, it was Ponting's son. Remember that? Was that last summer?
Yeah.
And it was just smoking him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah. Gene stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Great
Already better than me.
Great shot from Watto's son, Will. And we're actually releasing a bat review shortly for T20 Stars because I got to use the bat. We did a bit of stuff in the studio here. We're not allowed to go to the nets. I was in the nets before lockdown.
Yes.
Before
it was illegal.
There was some Hatsa glue stuff if you want to see how I hold the stick. But we did a bat review. We're not going to say too much about it, but we had the obvious 6 categories for evaluating a stick.
Of course.
Which I can't quite remember now, but
it was a whole
some
bit.
pretty spurious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just say at one point I had the bat into the camera saying it's a thick boy.
Yes.
So that's T20 Stars. You're going to get, I said 50% off. You're going to get 30% off. Affordable cricket equipment. Head ahead of summer. It's a good stick. There's some good sticks there. Head to t20stars.com. And just before I go to Graeme Swann as well, he goes, last week I asked people to put together their visceral minute.
Yes, you
just
did.
just to join in.
Yeah.
Just to join in with the idea
Let's be part of it.
of nations hating nations.
Let's start our own tribes.
Yeah. Let's
gonna
get
start with
aggressively tribal.
Yeah.
Tell us how you feel about the other country.
Yes.
And don't be intellectual about it. Just go from the gut. And got about 35 responses. We're going to play a couple of them. One before Graeme Swann, after Graeme Swann. A lot of really good stuff in there. Just for some feedback. I want it to be more visceral.
Okay.
Less descriptions. Just how do you feel about the other country?
Oof.
How does it make you feel in your bones? Give us the stuff that, where the heart knows things that the reason can't explain. Tony Abbott used to talk about this shit. The heart knows things that reason can't explain. We're going to play one ahead of Graeme Swann, one on the other side. Thanks very much to those who took part. You can still do it. I'll put the link up again. Okay, we've got arguably England's greatest ever spinner with us on the show. He waited until 28 for his test debut and 60 tests later finished with 255 poles, 17 fifers, 3 tenfers, 104 ODI wickets, 739 first-class wickets, 4 first-class tons, and some good mitts at second slip, most importantly, probably some bucket hands there. Most importantly, among other things, he knows the blueprint for winning in Australia, and he joins us on the show. Graeme Swann, welcome to The Grade Cricketer.
Hello, boys. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Great to have you on, Swanee. I hope I can call you Swanee.
You can. Let me start before you go anywhere. Let me start by saying I'm on this podcast because you boys are hilarious. Gene, you get the line of the club cricketer, the grade cricketer, so perfectly nailed on that I'm a massive fan of you boys. So well done.
All right. Well, I'll just erase about 8 questions I've got here for you because we're all mates now. But Swanee,
I'm not trying to curry favour and get you to be nice to me because the Ashes are coming up. Be as horrible as you like.
Did you ever have the pleasure of the youthful baptism of fire, that us Aussies love to give all elite English players by playing grade cricket? And if not, presumably that must be one of your life's great regrets.
It truly is. My actual knowledge of grade cricket in Australia, my brother, he was 2 years older than me, my big brother, he was an opening bat. He played first-class cricket. He was a bloody good player. And he went for a season when he was 17, 18, like most people do, to Australia, and he went to Wallsend in Newcastle, New South Wales. And I remember me, my mum and dad coming over at Christmas to come and visit him, and he was doing really well. Opening bat, he was killing it for this team, and we went to watch him this one week. And all I remember is he used to bat without a helmet on all the time, and he had this baggy cap, the proper Aussie baggy cap. It was brilliant. I think it was black and yellow. Opening the bat, and there's a lad bowling called Dillo. And I always remember just walking around the ground with my mum and dad, and we were quite close to the slips, and the first slip just yelled out, "Stick it up his fucking nose, Dillo!" my mum just being horrified. Said, "Oh my God, is that about my poor Alec?" And at that moment, I fell in love with Aussie cricket. I'll be honest, because before that, it was all Merv Hughes, and I knew Merv Hughes used to have a go at Robin Smith all the time. But then when sticking up his fucking nose, Dillo, honestly, I just thought this is the sort of cricket I want to play in. It was brilliant.
I actually know Dillo. He's a really nice guy. I mean, what would it take, Swanee, for a comeback into the game, club cricket, village cricket? We saw Dinesh Karthik get a game over in the UK. This northern summer. What are we talking here? Like a couple of jugs behind the bar, Cartier watches. What's the price for a Swan game?
Mate, I'm in like Flynn at the minute because my little boy's 10 years old and he's just started playing. And listen to this, for the nicest sounding cricket club in the world, right? Forget about anything about Saffron Walden or anything like that. His little club is called Plumtree Cricket Club. Oh. I mean, doesn't that sound adorable?
Yes.
The most important thing is it's got a thriving junior section. So lots of mums there, which is great. And the bar is phenomenal. It's the best stocked cricket bar. So they get it. They get club cricket. And they've got, the four teams on a Saturday, the under-10s, and I played in their President's game this year. Because, I mean, I'd always think that if my son played at a club, I'd be a big deal at that place, and they'd, bend over for me, because, 3 Ashes.
Do you have a cold? You just sniffed in quite hard.
Yeah. But the only problem is that Michael Lum and Samit Patel, their kids both play in the under-10s team, and their kids are absolute guns because they've been playing cricket since they were little kids. My little boy's been on the Xbox till he was 9, and then just started playing. He's a decent little bowler. He went online and he copied Uncle Jimmy, which you can guess is Jimmy Anderson. So he doesn't bowl spin; he bowls fast. Bless him, as 10-year-olds think they bowl fast. But yeah, so anyway, I played in this President's game this year, opened the batting, got a quick fire 30, loved every minute. I was caught a point by a 12-year-old. I hit it absolutely out the screws as well. And this sporty little bastard put his hand out, bobbed up in the air and caught it. And I pretended, yeah, I did that on purpose. I was seething. I walked off absolutely seething that my one knock in the last 4 or 5 years, I had loved it more than anything. I would never deny that. I hate cricketers who finish the game and go, you never get me back in a club. I never play again. I hated the game. Bollocks. You played the game because you loved it in the first place. And just because you think you're big time Charlie now, I would love to play again. So as soon as he's good enough to play in the thirds or whatever, I'm back. And I'm opening the batting. I'm going to keep wicket because I can't bowl anymore because my arm's fucked. But I'm going to field at slip. And I'm going to sledge the living daylights out of every little kid who comes into bat. It's going to be brilliant.
So you didn't bowl because of your arm. Is there anything that could tempt you into just actually going through the pain to say exact retribution on 12-year-olds like the one you just described?
Well, the problem is if I bowl spin, because I had to finish, I've got nerve damage in my elbow, so I can't feel my hand for a week. And it's my right hand, and it's really useful. Because I've already got 3 kids, so it's really useful. For driving around and stuff. Don't get the wrong idea.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
This is the sort of content you're after, isn't it? Tell me. So the couple of times that I've been talked into playing and bowl and spin, this year, I don't know where it's landed anyway, which is kind of I had to stop because I was bowling beamers. But it hurts like you wouldn't believe, and it genuinely makes me feel a bit depressed and hark back to when my career fell about on the floor. So I don't like doing it. But batting, on the other hand, I bat in club cricket the same way I did in Test cricket. Defensive stroke play can kiss my arse. I just want to hit every ball to the boundary. It's just the bowler's not as quick in club cricket.
I mean, we'll obviously get into the Ashes in a second, Swanee, but I mean, Plumtree Cricket Club does sound awfully like 5-0 Australia. I mean, that's the kind of meek shit that's going to come out here. A nice, neat front foot press. Sorry, with respect to your 10-year-old son.
I'll tell you who would not play for Plumtree, and that's fucking Dillo, mate.
Exactly.
Could you put out some sort of what's it called, an APB or whatever. I want to find Dillo, whoever he played for. It's a club in first grade cricket in New South Wales, in Newcastle, and this would be, I reckon, about 95, 96, around that period.
Yeah.
And he played
Well, it is a small enough country, Graeme. Yeah. So if you're out there and you played Newcastle grade cricket in the mid '90s and you answered to the name Dillo, just send us a DM, and we'll put you in touch.
In Newcastle, New South Wales, and having been there for a couple of weeks, I think it's more or less one or two families, the whole place. So. Of course I don't, because there are definitely 3 families.
Just want to stay on the theme of Dillo and Newcastle.
Yeah, that's right.
The smallness of this country.
Yeah, Dillo, where the fuck is Dillo, mate? Dear.
I can't think of a good segue, but I want to talk about your actual playing career, Graeme, if that's all right. Actually, yeah. I mean, your test debut in Chennai, India chased 387, 4 down.
Yeah.
You got Sachin, Sehwag, Dravid, Laxman, Yuvraj Singh, Dhoni. We've seen like a lot of players before your debut, after your debut. Like when a new spinner comes to India, they're like, who is this bloke? Did they try and take you on? Because I mean, we've seen careers ended in one test match or two test matches in India, but that obviously wasn't the case for you.
Well, I was quite lucky. In my first innings, I got 2 wickets in my first over. So 2 wickets in first over in Test cricket. Only 2 people have ever done it. Me and a guy called Richard Johnson, who's an Englishman, actually like me as well, an Englishman born in England. So he was one of the few and far between. But he did it against Zimbabwe, so that doesn't count whatsoever. Come on. But I did it against India. So my 2 first wickets were Gambhir and Dravid in my first over. And weirdly, this is when I'll be serious. I'm not very serious very often, but I discovered the key to Test cricket in my first over, because when Dravid came out to bat, having bowled at him in county cricket before, when I swear to God, no one has the talent that Rahul Dravid has for batting, or so I thought. He was a genius. He made everyone feel like 11-year-old kids. He just toyed with hit the ball wherever he wanted, got the field moved, hit it exactly where the fielder had been, like with this calm look on his face, got 150 by lunch. So that was it. He was just too good. Yeah. He walked out to bat, and I'd just taken a wicket with my 3rd ball that was Gambhir padded up, so it went straight on. Arm ball definitely meant it. Yeah. But Dravid walked in, and rather than looking at me thinking, perfect, spinner on debut, obviously shitting himself, and I've taken him apart before. Not now. I'm in the middle of a story. It's my room, Bill. Anyway, so in walks Rahul Dravid, I'm talking about here. Incredible. but Rahul Dravid walked in, and his eyes were like dustbin lids. He was absolutely bogging himself, because, there's 2 billion people who stop work. He is the wall. He's supposed to, win this test match or get 100 against England. And I got him out a second ball. His eyes were like that, honestly. And he went forward to a ball that should never have got him out. I mean, it was unplayable to most people, but he just hit him in front. And I had 2 wickets in my first over. And so to me, I just thought, right. And this is a reason your tweets appeal to me so much. I walked away from that over thinking that's the key to Test match cricket. It's not a different game. It's the same game that I played when I was 15 years old, when the pitch is 22 yards, ball's 5.5 ounces or whatever you call it, 156 grams, you weirdos. and all I've got to do, I'm going to treat this like I did when I was 15, and I'd turn up, and I knew I was a player. This is a club side, and I knew I'd do well, even though it was men's cricket. People would see that I was playing, and you, body language wise, and you felt amazing, and you just go and enjoy it, and you do well every week because of that. So Test cricket, I thought, I'm going to now treat this like when I was 15 years old, I'm the best player, and that will help me through it. And honestly, the best Test players are the ones who do that, who truly believe that they're good enough to play, even if they're bluffing it. Fake it till you make it all the way. Because there's times I've stood there on flat wickets and someone batting on 150 thinking, oh shit, I'd do anything. to not bowl at this bloke. So just don't bowl at him. Give him one and bowl at the left-hander at the other end.
Well, this is actually the closest I've ever felt to actually playing in the Ashes, where we're point scoring over the fucking metric system. But
well, no, the problem is though, if I did that with the Australian players, they wouldn't get the joke.
Once again to somber the mood immediately. I've wanted to. This is episode 173 for us, Swanee. So we've had a couple of people on before, but you're the second person who's actually playing this game, and I was in England at the same time. So now this story is actually about me. But it was in 2010, and the Pakistan Test match at Lords. That's obviously now famous for the match fixing revelations that came to light during that Test match. And I remember watching that game in like somewhat disbelief. I think Stuart Broad got 169 that day. You actually missed out scoring 0. So that was your biggest error. But by the morning of the fourth day, news had broken that Pakistan had like spot fixed moments. There was obviously the huge no ball from Muhammad Amir. But I remember you bowling Muhammad Amir on day 4. And the entire somber mood of the ground, like you didn't celebrate. I think the Pakistan players, even coming through the long room, got like a very cursory sort of applause onto the field from the members there. It was the weirdest thing. I remember seeing you guys maybe in the long room after the game, in like this weird sort of the whole mood was somber, right? But I mean, what do you remember from that morning and from that day?
Well, weirdly, I remember turning up to that ground. So. You'll probably notice me, I'll always try to find the funny angle for anything that makes me feel a bit nervous. And that genuinely made me feel very out of place. Like we're playing, exactly as you put it, very somber, playing a Test match at Lords. And, we're playing against people who are cheating. And even though it's spot fixing or whatever, they're reading the paper. I'll never forget them team manager and coach like sat on the balcony reading the news of the world, like scratching their heads. Like they're playing pictures of their players like taking bungs and these no balls and everything. So all the memories afterwards, you're right, the mood at the ground was somber. We went out to bowl and I remember bowling the captain, Salman Butt, who was the chief cheat and instigator. He went to prison for it, for Christ's sake. Yeah. I bowled him with a beauty. I tell you, a waste of a ball on a day like that. Drifted in, pitched, turned viciously, bowled him off stump. And he didn't fucking walk. He was in the paper for match fixing, and he just stood there as if, well, surely I get another go because I've just been caught. I'm going to prison, lads. Can I have another go? I just remember, like, so we're all in the middle, and they went upstairs to have a look, and it was clearly bold, and we were just in a huddle, and I don't know who it was who said it. As he walked off, just went, "Oh, you've got to walk in prison cricket," or something like that. Just off hand mark. And he went, but we mentioned that Brody got 170 odd, and he did, and I was the man out. I didn't just get naught, but I was the last man out. So I had to sit there for a day and a half while Brody got 160 on the big electronic scoreboard. All it says at Lords is the total, the score, who's bowling, the 2 men in, and last man, and now he was out. So it said last man, Swann, caught naught for a day and a half while he got 160. But anyway, so after the game, we had this properly pompous bloke who's our chairman of the ECB. I can't remember his name, but he was the most pompous upper-class Englishman ever. And he was fuming with Pakistan because they'd ruined his big day out at Lords. And so they conducted the prize giving in the long room in somber silence because they wouldn't do it on the phone. We're not doing it on a hallowed turf with these bloody cheats. Yeah. And then came to the change room afterwards and he was fuming. He was ranting and raving, and we're all sat there around the outside, all dead quiet. And Andy Flowers got very serious, talking about the ramifications. They could go to prison and all this. And it was a really shitty mood. But I just remember Brody leaning over to me because I just got 5 wickets and he'd got 160. He went, "Fucking hell, Swanee. You don't think they'll take our names down off the wall, do you?" But they didn't, so I'm still up there.
Yeah,
exactly. Swanee, how do you beat Australia in Australia? I want to know from you, what are our weaknesses apart from being uneducated on the metric system? How do you get under the skin of an Australian? Because we know the answer to this. We're actually scared of many things, and most of them involve the property market and getting a foot in the property market. But how did you engender that belief to win in 2010?
Well, had I known the grade cricketer back then, all I'd have done for every player is saying, "Is your dad turned up today, mate? Is your dad coming?" But I tell you what we did in 2010. We scored shitload. We didn't lose that first test when we got 517 for one following on, which for one reason or another was the flattest wicket in the world. It was incredible batting by our top three, but it turned into the flattest Brisbane wicket ever. But that 500 proved to our batsmen that we could score huge runs. The only way you beat Australia in Australia is to pile on a shit ton of runs. Because once you do that, and because let's face it, the Aussie bowling, they don't have Shane Warne anymore. Shane Warne could take 5 wickets at any point during any test match and beat you, and did that for 15, 20 years. Nathan Lyon's a good bowler, but he's not Shane Warne. And if you get on top of the Australian bowling attack, get huge scores, you can beat them. If you get bowled out for 250, you'll lose every game. And so the way we did it in that trip was just piling on. Cookie was like a machine, scoring run after run. I think we had about 4 or 5 other people scoring hundreds. KP was smashing it everywhere. Straussy was getting hundreds, Trotty. So once you've got that, our bowling, if it's given time, will beat, any Australian team. And this was an Aussie team with Clark, Ponting, Watson. But and Hussey, if you've got time to bowl them out and you're not forever being on the back foot, you can beat them. And I still think that series, we won 3-1. It was a closer series than that, because you could have easily won in Brisbane. It could have easily been 2. You smashed us in Perth. But Australia like to be on the front foot. They like to be dominant. And that's why there's like the aggressive brand of cricket. It's because I think it's like an insecurity thing, shitting themselves so they're having to go at us, like the bully in the playground. But
it's true. No, it's bang on. It's seriously true.
I love Haydock. But once you do it, and let's face it, England have got some very talented bowlers. The batting in the top 6, not quite so much at the minute, but the bowlers have got some because Jimmy and Broady are very, very talented, especially given time where they've not got to take a wicket every 3 overs because they're screwed otherwise. You can beat Australia. I'd say that the team that we brought out in 2010 would beat this current England team 4 or 5-0, I think. But I think every player looks back at their own side and thinks they're better. But I think most people would probably agree with us. But the Australian team we beat then would beat this Aussie team 5-0, I reckon. So I'm that classic cricketer who thinks that every game played in his era was way better than the one going on at the minute.
Oh, yeah, I'm exactly the same. I know a couple of my third-grade teams that I played in would smash the third-grade teams now. Honestly, wouldn't even be close. I mean, how do you look back on the 2011 Ashes, Swanee? Because, I mean, I think in my lifetime, that's the most impressive. That's the best Ashes win that I've seen in my lifetime. Like, I think it's better than 05, like winning away. And the 3 wins that you had were by innings. Like, it is remarkable to do that, especially in Australia, in the middle of like that long run where Australia just didn't lose a game. I mean, did winning it make you appreciate how hard it actually is to win in Australia?
It did, but it also made us realise that you can do it. I think for years England went to Australia not thinking they could ever win. Like take good teams, but not deep down think they'd ever win. Mainly because of McGrath and Warne, I'm sure of it. Because like it or not, when you've got McGrath opening the bowling, who was guaranteed 3 of your top order, and then Warney, I think Warney's the best bowler who's ever played the game, full stop. No, spin or pace. He's just a genius, Shane Warne. And England just knew they couldn't win if Warney was there. 2005 showed them otherwise because they came out and tried to attack Warney in the Ashes in England, and he still got 41 wickets. But I think it shell-shocked Australia so much that England weren't going to just sit down and roll over like they had for 20 years. And Varney was amazing for doing that. And then they came out and won. So that showed us that we could beat Australia. Warney stopped playing. McGrath stopped playing. The bowling wasn't as strong. And we had a very fucking good team all at the same time. So, yes, I still don't think going into 2010, we truly deep down thought we'd win. We thought we had a good chance, especially after that first test when, after the first day, when Siddle got a hat-trick. Oh, I've got to tell you this, by the way. So the most Australian bloke I've ever met in my life, I don't know his name, but after the day one of that 2010 Ashes, Siddle had got a hat-trick. So we'd started really well on the day, and Sid's got a hat-trick. Brisbane is feral. The noise in there when I went out to bat it was like Mad Max beyond Thunderdome. It was just incredible. And anyway, so we get these little combi vans that drive us back to the hotel, and we're on the way home, and we just pulled up to this in one of the vans, up to traffic lights or robots, whatever you call them. And I swear to God, I'm not making this up. A guy pulled up on a Harley Davidson or an Indian, one of those big motorbikes, next to us, and he had a pair of Brisbane Broncos Aussie Rule shorts on, those tight, really fucking tight. And he had like 2 teeth, and he had these little glasses on, and had a can of Forex in his hand. I swear to God. And he just sat there, like looking around, casually waiting for the lights to change, and then realised he was next to our team bus. And he just looked at us, laughing, "Ha! You guys fucked up today, eh?" And rode off. It was classic. Anyway, I didn't know where I was. But yeah, so we didn't lose that first test. And then, like you say, we won really heavily in 3 of the games. But my favourite day of that entire tour, my favourite day of Test cricket I ever played in, was at the MCG. And I'm sorry to bring this up because it's probably the lowest day in Australian sport in history. But when we bowled Australia out for 98, and then we were 160 for none by the end of play on day one. And it's Boxing Day. And we know this in England, that Boxing Day at the Test match is like Royal Ascot and the FA Cup final rolled into one. It's the biggest day in Australia, and it's the holidays, and everyone goes in fancy dress and everything. But we turned up, and the noise at the MCG, I don't know if anyone's ever talked about this, but it's so big and so vast that when I remember Shane Watson hitting a drive in the first over, and there was stony silence for like a fraction of a second, and then it comes in you in like waves from different sides of the ground. You know, in the cinema when they're showing you the Dolby surround sound, and it's suddenly all different angles. Fucking hell. It's like that. It's like an aeroplane taking off in 5 different directions. It's not phenomenal, and it's proper. It's hairs on the back of your neck stuff. But then we got all these wickets and bowled you out for 98. Got all these runs, and David Lloyd, the English commentators, came out with the greatest line ever. Because by the end of the day, all that was left in the ground were 25,000 Barmy Army, and all the Aussies had gone home. And David Lloyd, he was on TV, and he went, "Oh, look, it's fancy dress day here at the MCG. 70,000 Aussies have come as empty seats." Which I know is painful, and thank you for giggling along through gritted teeth. But as an Englishman, that was my best day of Test cricket. I bowled 2 overs and took a catch. That's all I did. But it's still my favourite day of Test cricket. Hello, I'm Ricky Ponting. Oh, best day I ever took.
Swanee, last week, Australia's current head coach wrote on LinkedIn. Just a passage. A wise man.
Right.
This is what he wrote. He wrote, "A wise man once said, don't give them a taste of your own medicine. If they lied, let their medicine be honesty. If they played with your emotions, let your medicine be maturity. If they broke you, let your medicine heal you. If they made you cry, let your medicine make them smile. These remedies of yours may take years to work, but they work." Just my question is, do you see any weaknesses in the...
Yes, sorry, go on.
Do you see any weaknesses in the current Australian side? And what's the case for England winning this time around?
Well, by the sounds of it, you've got an anti-vaxxer and a flat earther as head coach by that sort of nonsense. But is this just Langer? Because I've read another one today. I mean, I like JL. I'll tell you this, that JL was the angriest bloke I've ever played cricket against.
No, cunt, you can say it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, as I've said this before, the first 2 words we learned as kids are mummy and daddy, and the first 2 words Aussies learn are fuck and can. But Justin Langer, when he played for Middlesex, and this is years and years ago, and he only just played Test cricket, and on his Test debut, he was like a pinball machine, wasn't he? And the West Indies knocked him out, and he had the jelly legs and had to walk off the field and everything. But he was big mates with Haydos. Of course he was. Fucking Haydos and JL. And Haydos is our captain at Northampton, and I've got a load of stories about Haydos because I love him to bits. I call him Buzz Lightyear because he's got a massive, massive chest and a tiny little head. Buzz Lightyear. And before the day of this game, Haydos had gone for a barbie at JL's place. And he obviously just ripped all his own team to fucking shreds because we came out to bat and Langer just flew into us with everything we've ever done, every little secret we had from the dressing room. It was all out, and he was absolutely ripping into us. And I came out, and he was at slip to a spin for Phil Tufnell was bowling. And he goes, "Oh, I heard all about you, mate. I think you're the fucking big star." I was like, "Oh, nice." I think you're going to play Test cricket. It's fucking hard. It's a fucking hard game, mate. And so I went, "Yeah, you'd fucking know. You were like a pinball against the Windies." And his face went like, I thought this is a funny little comeback because I thought he was being like jokey sledge, but he went from like half smiling to, I think his eyes, I saw his eyes cross with anger and like steam come out of his ears. He started fucking screaming abuse, like, "I'll fucking kill you." And then our guy at the other end came down and went, "You know he's a fucking black belt, don't you?" Well, he wasn't Australian, so "You know he's a black belt, Ronnie, don't you?" I was like, "Oh, fucking hell." I was only trying to have a laugh. So yeah, and he used to stand there, like whoever was fielding at point, if he wasn't pumped up for the game, he'd just look up and go, "What are you fucking looking at?" So the point fielder would go, "What?" And let me tell you, English county cricket is like Sunday church cricket in Australia. It's lovely. You know, there's not as much people in black with white collars, but it's lovely. No one sledges. You just get on. You're all friends. So whoever's fielding point, you got, and I was going, "The fuck are you looking at?" I was just admiring the scoreboard, actually. It's lovely here. You little pain. We just didn't know what to make of this angry little dog. He was like a little dog yapping at your heels, biting your ankles. And now he's a coach, and he's like all calm, and he writes all these nice. I think it's nice. I think you should embrace it because, you know, it is nice this day and age. You've got to recognise that everyone's different and everyone needs a cuddle. It sounds like he needs a cuddle.
To be fair, it sounds like you were way out of line looking at our fucking scoreboard. I don't know what you were thinking, but
Why have they changed that scoreboard at Adelaide? Tell me they've not.
No, it's the same.
No, it's still got it.
Good, because they've ruined the ground. By the way, I'm going to say this out loud. Adelaide Oval, everyone raves on about it. What a great cricket ground! It's not. It's a great stadium, but it's a terrible cricket ground now. Soulless. Used to be amazing with all the seagulls and the red roof. Mark Wall getting 100 on debut and Bluey getting 100 on debut and England losing by an innings. It used to be great.
Oh, yes. Keep talking. More of that.
David out the ball before tee court, deep square, flicking off his toes. See, I'm a cricket fan.
just last one for me, Swanee. I mean, you'd be one of the very few people, I'm guessing, in history since the war, and by the war, I mean the Falklands War, that have won in Australia and India. You won series both away in India and away in Australia. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone really ranks memories, but I mean, is the Ashes above that? I mean, it's very. I mean, you were the leading wicket taker in India. That series took 20 wickets, 20 bowls in India. I mean, is that better than winning at away in Australia?
Well, it's just two things. Firstly, it's better for your career afterwards if you're a spin bowler and there's a lot of money in Indian cricket. So I do all right over here. So I'm glad that happened. But as a kid growing up, I swear to God, all I thought about was playing in the Ashes. I wanted to win the Ashes one day. I wanted to get Alan Border out to win the Ashes. I mean, I didn't do my maths. I didn't realise he'd be 60 by the time. I wasn't a very bright player, which is why I chose cricket rather than football. I could be loaded by now. But all I wanted to do was play against Australia and win the Ashes. So that, for me, I won't lie to you, winning my first Ashes in 2009 is still, for me, the greatest thing ever. Imagine this, so it was that famous day, well, famous if you're English, but we're at the Oval. It was day 3. The wicket was a joke. It was an absolute snake pit. And for some reason, Nathan Horrocks didn't play in the game. Marcus North was the spinner for Australia. So picked completely wrong team. And we had to bowl Australia out. And we set 520, whatever. Ponting got 100 and Husk got 100. But then Fred did that run out to get rid of Ponting. And then from that moment on, we were going to win the Ashes that day. So we had 6 more wickets. It's turning square, and it's late summer in London, which you've been there. It's gorgeous. It's hot, even hot for English. It's like 21 degrees, baking. So, but the ground was absolutely packed, and the sun's starting to go down to long shadows. And we won, and I took the wicket. And I'll never. This is true. So Mike Hussey is a really good mate of mine because we played at Northampton together. And honestly, he is as nice a bloke as you can imagine. So that's not put on for the cameras like some people. He is you work out who. He is a genuinely nice bloke. And before the Ashes, I'd spoken to him, like, to wish him well. It was my first Ashes. I think he'd played before. It might have been his first one, actually, but sort of wish each other well. He went, mate, I had a dream last night that I'm going to drive you for 4 at the Oval to win the Ashes for Australia. And I went, bullshit, mate. I'll get you caught short leg to win it for England. And on that very last day at the Oval, I got him caught short leg to win the Ashes for England. And there's a brilliant thing. So the ball bubbled up in the air, and Cookie is at short leg, and he caught it. And everyone's just peeled off, celebrating, like screaming. Like it's the best feeling I could ever imagine. Yeah. But I just noticed out the corner that Cookie put the ball in his pocket. So what's normal is, like, whoever was bowling, if you get 5 wickets, if you get the chance, you give the ball to the bowler. It's like a keepsake for him. And I thought, fucking good on Cookie. I love him for that. So after the game, I said, Cookie, you kept the ball. And he went, yeah, I did. I got it. I went, brilliant. Can I have it? He went, fuck off. This will be worth millions one day. So after the game, you've got everyone going mad, and they put like 150-foot St George's Cross flag on the outfield, and we're walking around in like a lap of honor. They're playing Land of Hope and Glory, Rule Britannia, Jerusalem. It was like a Brexit hard-on party, this was. The one regret is that they didn't put any music on for the 5 South Africans we had in our team, but that doesn't matter. They all joined. But like, my mum and dad are up in the ground, up in the stand, and I think I'd met my wife to be at the time. She might have been there. I don't know. I know she definitely was. So she's up there. But you're walking around the ground, and like all these patriotic songs going, and you look around, they're singing it to you. You're holding up the little Ashes urn, and this is the best thing about this. So you see the little Ashes urn, and I, weirdly, because it means so much to an Englishman and Australian, all I ever wanted to do was get my hands on the actual Ashes and touch that, even for a second, like that famous little trophy. And so after we've done this lap of honour and they've played all this music and we've drank champagne and everything, and you go to the podium to get the Ashes, and you can see it on a little plinth. And so we all got there, and I fucking barged everyone out the way to get near Straussy. So if you want to get near the captain, you've got to get past all the big dogs who think they're important. So Jimmy out the way, Broady out the way, KP pushed him off. Got next, just to get next to Straussy. And as he lifted that tiny little plinth up in the air, there's a little sticker on the bottom of it that said Lord Shop, £4.95. So there's this picture of everyone celebrating and me just looking underneath going, what the fuck? Oh, brilliant.
Swanee, last one from me. And everybody says, and rightly so, that Ben Stokes is taking the time he needs before he comes back to cricket. By the same token, 24 hours ago, he tweeted, only hours after the squad announcement, a picture of him gripping a bat with the caption, "Oi, aye, lad." So 2 questions. Should we start getting excited that he's coming? Because obviously you would know from where you are in India. And is it true that you advised Brad Haddin to sledge anyone but Ben Stokes in the 13-14 Ashes, as it might have compromised Haddin's personal safety?
Well, yeah. So yeah, I saw that with Stokes. He's getting his hand around the bat. And my first thought was very base. I thought, good on him. That's going to improve his downtime. But then I just thought, I've been on my own for too long in this hotel room, so it was a bit of a call to arms. No, I don't think you should get too excited. Stokes won't be back for the Ashes. There's no way. If the finger's that bad, he can't play. But England, I don't, and I hate saying this, but I don't think they can win without him in Australia. And I wish they could, but I don't think they can. Even against Tim Payne's Australia, that, you know, my England team with 4 of the South Africans taken out, I think could have beaten Tim Payne's Australian team.
Would you do a prediction like
you know why I laugh?
Michael Vaughan?
When I say is because I just know that they won't. That half the team won't get that joke, and they won't realise I'm talking about them. But yeah, so with Hads, so I really like Brad Haddin. He wasn't popular within our changing room because he was a wicket keeper. Keepers are never popular because they're the chirpy ones. But I always like Hads. Because, you know, I don't know whether it's because of the spin ball or whatever, so I like keepers. I think they're good. They're smelly, horrible things, but they're good lads. And they wind people up. They're like scrum halves in rugby. They're real annoying fuckers, but you want one on your team. So I always respected Hads. But yeah, so Stokes is playing in that test. Can't remember what happened, but there's a bit of to and fro in. And I think Hads, in the typical Aussie way, might have offered him out to the car park. You know, it's bog standard. We all know it from Saturday afternoon. I'll see you around the back of the fucking sheds, mate. Yeah, your classic sort of shed shout. And I just walked past him and I went, Hads, seriously, of all the team, probably anyone but Stokesy. I think he's got a fuse. Sure enough, 2 years later, I mean, it was proven that he did have a fuse, and we've all forgotten about that.
Yeah,
I like to think I was doing my bit for world safety on that day.
Fair enough. Yeah. Graeme Swann. Look, I'll just finish off there, and then you went home from that series. There's just Aussies who'll just be glad that was said. But apart from that, you've been the rightful hero of so many of these stories. It's been an amazing career, and I just think you just helped light the fuse so well. You know, ahead of the Ashes. We're obviously we're a curiosity to you as Aussies.
You're like a sibling. You're not the favourite sibling. You're like a step sibling. There may be a ginger step sibling. We don't really like you, but we have to love you. So that's how I think.
I was getting to that. Are we going to see you out here in Australia?
Well, I don't know at the minute because of your draconian 2 weeks every day. And I'm not having to go at your government, but just vaccinate everyone. And if you don't want to get vaccinated, then run the risk of dropping dead, to be honest. So I don't know at the minute. I'd love to. There's a chance to work for Triple M. Triple M rocks the Ashes, let's face it. That I did before.
Face it.
Last time I was out there, so what is that, 2017 or whatever. Oh, but by the way, I got sent home from the Ashes. I didn't choose to fucking go. I said I can't play anymore, so I got sent home, and I got so much grief for bailing on it. I was fucking sent home.
Which one of George Bailey's sixes did it for you?
George Bailey. No. Nathan Lyon hit me for 6. That's the end. That's the fucking end. Trust me. No, George Bailey was hitting Jimmy, yeah. Shane Watson hit me for about 4 sets. You know, this is weird. I've gone off on the side. Very quickly, I don't think so, Australia, but I hope so. But Shane Watson never gets the credit for how good a player he was. I'm telling you.
Agreed.
Against spin, I think I got him out once. That was at the Oval, which should have been my last ever test match because I couldn't feel my hand by then. But I thought, Aussies is shit. I want to win 4 of these. I'll go back out there. In the second innings, at the Oval Test match, 2013, so Australia trying to get some quick runs. I hated bowling at Watto just because he'd never get out bat. He looked like he was a big bat pad merchant, but he played it with a bat in front of his pad, so he never got out bat pad, and he was outside the line, and he hit the ball fucking hard. So if you bowled a slightly bad ball, he'd hit it for 4 or 6. So I really didn't like bowling at him. I'd much rather bowl at like Clark and Hussey, who were the best players of spin because they used their feet. But I'd much rather bowl at them than Watto. Just for some reason, you don't enjoy bowling at some people. And the last time I got him out, or the only time I got him out at the Oval, he went down the wicket and just hit it. And we both went, oh, for fuck's sake. Me thinking that's a massive straight 6. And Watto thinking he'd obviously realised that he'd mishit it. So I turned around, I'm walking back to my mark going, I fucking hate bowling at Shane Watson. And I watched Kevin Peterson catch him at long gone. I've never been happier. It's probably the most throwaway quick runs wicket ever. It was like I just bowled punter through the gate again. This is brilliant. And so
again,
yeah,
Perfect.
But I truly believe, like, My Name is Earl. I don't know if you've seen My Name is Earl. If you've not, you have to watch it. It's an amazing TV show. But all about karma. And karma does bite you on the arse. And cricket really does bite you on the arse. But I remember after that game thinking, well, I've finally got Shane Watson out. The world is all right now. The world's in a better place. And then I went to Australia, and seriously, my hand was so bad by this stage. I tried to get out of the first test. I tried to say, I can't play in this game, Cookie. And he said, look, our other spinner's Monty Panesar at the minute, and he's barking at the moon, so we need you to play. So I played. And I could barely, honestly, about 2 balls and over, I'd let go, hoping that it landed in the right place. And it didn't always do it. And so the second test at Adelaide Oval, I was thinking, this is terrible. I can't do this anymore. My body has given up on me. In my head, I had 10 more years of cricket. But my arm had given up to the point where, you know, Chris Rogers, when I got him out at Lords, with that horrific, the worst ball in cricket in history.
Hit him in flight.
Followed by the worst shot in cricket in history, followed by the worst umpire in cricket in history. And then I just said, no, mate, it looked fucking straight, you're out. So they didn't even... But that ball, I swear to God, when I let go of that ball, that did not feel any different to a normal delivery I bowled. That was what my hand was like at that time. I was like, fucking hell, I've had 3 operations. I can't have another one. And so playing those games, I was like, I'm just trying to hide. And Cookie begged me to play at Perth because there was a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that honestly the players didn't know about. That subsequently turned out it was our mate Kev. He says, look, I need to see players. I need some support, and we need you to play. It's Perth. You won't bowl much because we'll get hammered. But just turn up, basically. That wasn't the exact word he used, but that was the gist. But I remember I got a couple of wickets early in the first. I got Michael Clark caught a short mid wicket. Again, didn't know where it had gone. I thought it had gone behind the umpire, and I let go of it. So I'm thinking, this has got to be it. I've got to get out of this game somehow. So in the second innings, I got Warner out in both innings, by the way. Caught point, caught the last test wicket is David Warner. That is pretty good. I mean, my life went down the pan, and I was clinically depressed. I had to see a psychiatrist for 4 years, but I got Warner out. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. That got me through it. But I remember bowling this, and it got to the point where I couldn't feel my hand, and I was like, shit. And I'm saying to Cookie, I can't bowl. Please put Rooty on. I can't bowl. I don't know where it's going. And he went, one more swan it. And so I looked around, I thought, right, how do I stop myself getting panned all over the place here? I'll go round the wicket. I hated bowling round the wicket. Always did. It's for losers. And Shane Watson's batting. Now, I thought, yeah, fair enough. He's going to come down the wicket. And he hit one, and he hit it well. He's a big, strong lad. And he went for 6. And I thought, well, what do I do here? Because I can't bowl an arm ball because I can't feel my forefinger. So that might be a beamer. I'll try it again. He won't come down again. He came down again, and he hit it fucking miles. So I'm now thinking, right, surely 2 sixes in the over, that's enough. He's not going to do it again. I swear to God, my last ball in Test cricket is still fucking travelling. He came down the wicket. He didn't get to the pitch of it. And because I couldn't feel my hand, I couldn't put any spin on the ball, I was basically bowling 50-mile-an-hour lob-ups. He hit this delivery. I swear to God, the noise it made, I mean, there were 2 men on a grassy knoll who would have stopped back in the day in Dallas because it cracked like a sniper's rifle. This ball nearly took out an Emirates airline that was fucking flying back to London. And it just kept going and going and going. And imagine turning around and watching your entire life disappear out of a stadium. It was fucking horrific. And it was Shane Watson. But that was my name is Earl moment. For laughing and joking that I'd got Shane Watson out at the Oval. This is my way of saying, fuck you, Swan. Go back. You're done, pal. Yeah, and then I got sent home because I couldn't play the next game and got fucking abused on social media. So, yeah, thanks, Twitter, you bastards.
Graeme Swann, you've taken us on a journey, and it's been a very generous one. Thanks so much. And I think it's a great place to sign off, actually. That's everybody should get vaccinated, and that Shane Watson is probably the most underrated cricketer in Australian history, or underappreciated cricketer in Australian history. We can all agree on that.
And he looks exactly like Patrick Swayze.
And exactly that too. Thanks so much, Graeme Swann. So generous, mate. So it's a long show, but we really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can catch you out here.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you've got some good editing tools. I've been on my own for a long time. You're the first people I've spoken to for like 3 weeks. Thank you.
And Manscaped, Pezzy lad, use 20% off using the code TGC. Has a company ever felt more hand in hand than Manscaped and TGC? Now, Manscaped are obviously everywhere. They've got a huge podcasting campaign anywhere around the world. But it just feels like a good fit. It feels like a good fit to me. And I'm actually pleased that people are signing up on the basis of hearing us talk about it, because I think that the grooming from the men's department is a underutilized facet of economics.
I've always said that. You have always said that. Yeah. And I also want to say, attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston, do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new lawnmower 4.0. Yeah, there's all that other shit there. He goes, last week I alluded to a profiled cricketer receiving some Manscaped in the post.
Yes.
And I kept the identities private because I hadn't really cleared it.
Right.
But subsequent to the chat,
have you continued communication?
Well, after I alluded to it, I got in contact and said, look, this is what I've done. It was more of a sort of...
Expect fans at your door.
Ask for forgiveness and not permission.
Expect fans at your shower door. Sorry.
Well, but I was cleared. So I can announce now.
Announce
to the audience now that the receiver of the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 following listening to TGC was Ben Cutting. Which is very appropriate when you consider the surname.
Yeah, that's right. Why does it feel weird to talk about this? Should we direct people to message Ben on social media?
No, it's just more like...
Let us know how it's going.
Look at Ben Cutting. I mean, he's an absolute throbber of a man.
Yeah, speaking of roosters.
He's an absolute rooster.
Wish we weren't, but
Manscaped's
we
good enough for him.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was his wife, Erin.
Yeah.
Erin Holland, who's with Channel 7, who let us know.
Yeah.
Erin receives a lot of parcels.
See, mate, that's what I was actually thinking about this. I was thinking about, like, you know, Christmas.
She got it for him.
Christmas, yeah, that's exactly it.
Now it feels like I know a little bit about his pubes now.
I think it's a great gift. If you're one of the ladies out there tuning into TGC,
and there are only a few,
and you got a partner, this is a genuinely good present. Use the code TGC.
Yeah.
Manscaped.com. 20% off. 20% off.
20% off for your Lawnmower 4.0 and all the other shit. And I think Erin did complain about him having crop mops and ball wipes and shit, and she didn't want that. But it kind of is just the bells and whistles that come with it. I think the main thing is that Ben Cutting, more like Ben Scaping.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
I hate myself.
Nice.
Manscaped.com, 20% off free shipping TGC.
Hashtag AskTGC. Ollie Rex writes in. I'm a relatively new disciple of the pod. Where the fuck have you been, Ollie?
That's good.
Been doing this shit for 5 years, you fucking little prick.
Yeah, let's go. Come on.
So forgive me. Oh, okay, I'll take that back. Sorry, Ollie. If this has been asked before, my question is this. What do you think is the ideal level of cricket knowledge in a romantic partner? Your average cricket fanatic is unlikely to be attractive. We spend most of our free time on Cricinfo and think that standing around for a few hours either side of a large mid-afternoon meal constitutes exercise. Are we really looking for someone who has an intimate knowledge of fine legs and third men? I think not. But the alternative is hard to stomach. There are people out there who won't tolerate a painstaking analysis of the 12 we scored on the weekend, including the generous reenactment of the only boundary and blow-by-blow account of the ill-deserved dismissal. Spending the rest of your life with such a person would border on irresponsible. I am no alpha, but I can share some observations based on my own somewhat limited experience. My university girlfriend was French and lived in America. I was surprised to learn that she had heard of cricket, although all she knew about it was that you played it in trousers and hardly ever had to run. She did say, however, that her grandmother was a fan ever since she had spent a year abroad in England as a young woman. 2 years into the relationship, we visited her family home in France. The home turned out to be a chateau, fit with a vineyard and even a truffle farm. Oh, Ollie.
Yes.
As a poorly dressed Brit with shoddy French, I was nervous about meeting the grandparents over dinner. The granddad spoke no English at all, and so I mainly sat there in silence, nodding along like an idiot. Eventually, my girlfriend decided to break the ice. She turned to her grandma and said, "Grandma, Ollie plays Quidditch." I went as red as a Duke's ball. It's more my own, but I pointed out the error, and my girlfriend laughed. "I mean cricket," she said. "Didn't you used to like it, Grandma?" To which the old lady simply replied, "No, not really." I've been with my current girlfriend for 4 years. I could not believe my luck when it turned out that she had actually quite likes cricket. The first time I went to her family home, not only did I see that they owned the official 2005 Ashes DVD, but we actually watched the Edgbaston test. However, over time, things have taken a turn as she has learned to weaponize her knowledge. Oh, now we're talking.
Weaponize.
She will watch cricket with me, but will make frequent references to how lucky I am to go out with someone who likes cricket throughout. During the game, I will inevitably mention the century I scored at some stage. When I do, she rolls her eyes and complains I can't go one day or even one email without talking about that bloody 100. They're talking over emails? What's going on? What do you guys think? Would you rather be with someone who confuses our sport for a fictional game played by wizards or on broomsticks, or with someone who knows enough to understand the shocking depths of our own obsession and inadequacy? Maybe I should just count myself lucky that anyone would want to be with a guy who can put this much effort into an email to a tongue-in-cheek cricket podcast made on the other side of the world. Cheers. Ollie.
Thanks, Ollie. Great question. He goes... Firstly, the image of a French girlfriend and visiting her grandmother in, a chateau fit with a vineyard.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, being of the view that the grandmother would have a kinship with you over cricket, it just evokes the idea of being in, the Loire Valley, as the pastel light.
Yeah, sure.
Flowers abound and sitting sort of on the balcony at some... Sitting on a dignified little deck.
Terrace?
Yeah. Sipping.
Nice Bordeaux.
Sipping some red, Bordeaux, if you will. And maybe there's a bit of cricket on, in
the background.
Maybe.
On the TV.
I don't know.
On beIN Sports.
I mean, cricket would fit into that scene easily. And I just wonder with the grandmother, he goes, I don't think it's like there's been something lost in translation, because the grandmother answers the question quite honestly, as many of us would. She answers the question the same way many of us would. Do you like cricket? No, not really.
Not really.
Isn't that how you'd answer it?
Yes.
If you were asked that, do you like cricket?
Yeah.
It's like, that's a complicated question. The answer's not a straight yes.
Yeah.
My eyes don't light up.
Oh, yeah. And if anyone does answer like that, remove yourself from that suburb immediately.
Well, if they start, you look like you're about to start barking. So she really knows the game. But anyway, you guys broke up. I think that anything on that? Is that about the fair analysis of?
Yeah. No, I was just going back to thinking about Aaron Holland and Ben Cutting and drinking wine with both of them actually in Bordeaux somewhere. And they're on the south of France. Bit of cheese, charcuterie board,
if you will.
Ben's manscaping for some reason.
Yep.
Like that's a couple who obviously they both like cricket.
Yeah.
Aaron Holland does PSL.
Yep.
Does stuff here with Channel 7 as well.
Yep.
Excellent broadcaster. Ben Cutting, IPL player, PSL player, played for Australia.
My
non-stop cricket.
My mum loves cricket.
Okay.
And so it strikes me like that was great for the house. My dad loves cricket. My great granduncle was picked to play for Australia in
that's
then
right.
World War I broke out.
Yeah.
Bert Folkard.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And and so it occurred to me that my mum loved the game. So whether it was playing or watching,
Right.
she was good for it.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
just
yeah,
no
yeah.
problem in the house.
Sure.
And then I found in my house now, my wife she's not neutral about the game. She grew up in a house where her mum does not like the game.
Got it.
And so if you're going out with somebody who likes cricket, it's a problem for you insofar as you are a player because your partner will be aware that you're shit.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You'll try and
exactly
say
what you
that
mean.
you're good at something,
Right.
and they'll be aware that you're shit. But it will be good insofar as you watching the game.
Yep.
There won't be, emotional. What's the word? You won't be emotionally tiptoeing around the house with the game on.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't like the game
Yep.
and you've got cricket on,
Yep.
from experience, there's a lot of like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh, fucking cricket.
Yeah.
Okay. That's no good.
What else is on?
Yeah, really, really good. Because the problem with cricket, if you don't like it, is that when the cricket's on the TV, it's fucking on all day. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you see, okay, as a partner, it must be like I don't know what I am now giving up. So you're out.
That's right.
You're gone.
That's right.
So no, it's not quite. There's more of a
when
background.
cricket's on the TV, it's essentially like the television then essentially becomes like one of those digital frames where you can like just upload some photos into it and like it just flicks through.
Yeah.
It's just the same images you see over and over again, but it's just on the background. You
Yes.
don't really start to pay attention after
But
a
people
while.
don't understand that. Like a partner is right to presume that a cricket game on TV is like, no, you're watching a TV show. It's like, no, and you need to go. That's not quite like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I reserve the right to tune in at any time that I like.
I reserve
that right
Yes.
because there are moments, and you don't understand those moments,
Yeah.
etc. But I am here when I decide that I'm here as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Really good partner stuff.
Yep. Yeah, healthy.
Really healthy.
Healthy is what it is.
Really giving. Really compassionate.
When the game becomes really engaging, what I'll do
Mm.
is I'll lift up my eyes about 4 centimeters from my small screen in my hands
Yeah.
up into the big screen.
Yes.
And then I'll go, and then
Exactly.
back to Twitter where I just leave some really mean comments.
Well, I think
on
that's
people's
exactly what I did when Pandey bowled that ball to Healy. I honestly think
Oh,
I was in
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
literally,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
thankfully I was
Yeah.
on my own at home, but I was lying there and I think I was looking at the phone.
Yeah.
And then I just looked up and like,
Play around that.
yeah, that's right. Oh, good. Yeah.
Step back a bit.
Yeah.
Who are you talking there, Pezza?
Is that swung or sing? In your head, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think that'll do, Pez. I think that'll do. Thank you so much to Graeme Swann. Thank you to Ali Martin over there in the UK. And thank you to you out there, those wonderful people on the internet. We'll see you next week right here on the Great Crickets podcast.